There was this little clown girl named Lunette, and she used to bust it wide open.
Oh my.
All right, there we go. There we go. We good? Sweet. Sick. So speaking of waiting on things, fucking
waiting to get the episode started?
Shut the fuck up. Less than 24 hours after episode 20 part 2 went up. Like, not even a full fucking day.
Yeah.
Having CollisionWorks comment on that
episode,
video.
that was crazy.
That was sick. That is, did you see that? What we posted in the Discord earlier?
He didn't. It wasn't paying
Well, I
our
saw
chat.
it, but I did not know its significance. What happened? How is it significant? What happened?
Episode 20 part 2, I just put out 2 days ago.
Okay.
Right. In that episode, we talked about, after the whole Drake Kendrick shit, we ended up talking about Life of Althar.
Okay.
Life with Althar.
Yep, Life with
and
Althar.
That was the podcast that Fluff was super into.
Yeah.
And we got to sit and just kind of talk about that. So not even a huge part of the podcast, but the comment that I screenshot and pasted, that's on our video.
I didn't even know that was a comment on our video. I thought that you were just capping that from somewhere.
No.
I figured you would have asked leading questions. Like,
No.
I think you would have paid attention, cared.
No, for real, the importance of it was to send it mostly for Fluff, but I had called him before I even did that anyway. So,
Yeah.
like, he was
Literally, I reacted to it just so that you would pay attention to it, and you still didn't pay attention.
No, trust me. I saw it, but I figured that it was something that y'all had talked about that I had no idea what it was. And I was like, they're talking about a thing.
fair enough, not incorrect.
No.
No, it's fun because I called Fluff.
I was at work.
You
I was
sounded
like,
so pissed.
well, I was like, what?
No, you were like, Rueben.
Not the first name.
I was like,
I was dead ass. I was just trying to be quiet at my desk.
so my first thought was like, is he pissed at me? It's like, no, he has to be. Okay, he is at work.
Yeah.
I love
And I
how
was
our first reaction is like, am I in trouble?
So
When you get your first name called like that, it's just you and me we're instantly like, uh-oh.
yeah, it was like, okay. Anyway,
Well, I was like,
Trauma.
Ruben's calling me while I'm at work. Either
Yeah.
something's going wrong or
that's
something's crazy.
Not even the first time I've called you at work and I've never received a response like
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
But it was also like first thing in the morning. It was like not even 11. I think it was like fucking 10.
I was mostly confused to try to be professional.
Fair enough. I was like, oh, is he in like a meeting or in a room with people? Well, he can tell me he's not. I was like,
if I was in a meeting or room, I just would have not picked it
fair,
up.
fair. But that's why I was like, are you busy at this exact moment? And I had you look up the video and go read that comment, and we got to react to that comment on the phone together.
I was like, do the podcast episode? I was like, okay, we'll see what's going on here. I typed it in. I went to the episode and I was like, and then I stood up from my desk and I went to the stairwell and I was like,
I heard that echo in the background. I was like, he left the room. Yeah, no, we fucking like that was insane. Oh my god,
Nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't even know. I'm so curious how that even got across their radar.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
you
you did
hashtagged
put it in the
didn't you?
chapter.
True, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I'm gonna guess and wonder if they have like SEO scraper bots or anything like that.
Yeah.
Wait, so for everyone in the audience, what happened?
Did we not explain what? No. This is for us. I'm kidding. No. So we talked about a show called Life with Althar.
Well, can you describe the comment? I think I get that they commented.
Okay. Yeah, no, the comment was he literally just acknowledged, firstly, the person who posted said that Life with Althar will return. They're making it real clear that they will be coming back. They've been dealing with some stuff in the background, but he just assured that Life with Althar will be returning. Then he thanked us they thanked us for the mention and talking about them.
Okay.
So it's like nothing great. If you want to see the comment, go to the fucking video. Episode 20 part 2. The hell? Why do I gotta explain it to you? You should be watching the video.
Or scroll up in the group chat between all of us so you can see it there.
The group chat they don't have access to?
No, the group chat that y'all don't have access to, but the one I know you can pull up right now.
The one you refuse to fucking read. No, that is a huge problem with Formz is
I'm giving him shit, but I would have done the same thing.
that's fair. We'll read the comment because I'm actually really excited about this. Life with Althar will return. If you haven't finished the series yet, episode 30 is a good place to pause. After that, I forgot he even mentioned this because that's a really good place to. That's such a. I cannot believe they actually listened to this fucking segment.
Yeah.
But after that, our cliffhangers we didn't expect to leave, hanging for 3 years. It is being worked on very slowly due to real world issues, unfortunately. But the final 8 episodes will appear. We're just not going to announce anything until we have at least 4 of them. Too bad, motherfuckers. Here we are. 4 of them completely done. Thanks so much for the kind words. And that was the full comment. And like, I saw this comment come through the just YouTube like notifications.
You got a comment.
And I was reading it and I was like, Life Without Her was like, who just knows this? So I was gonna just get on and like just like it for sake. And then I saw the name of it and I was like, wait.
collisionwork.
Collision. Oh shit.
That's them.
That is actually them. That's them for realsies.
Hill. Like that's the people.
So that was a sick thing that happened this week that I'm just super proud about. So shout out to Collision Work, shout out to Life of Althar.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to respond.
Thank you. Like, yeah, thanks a ton. That is absolutely like that really that made this more real for me, even more than it already has, in a way that is it cannot be overstated. Like that was incredible. Just having like that interaction happen with folks that obviously like we have a lot of adoration for. So
we said like, comment, and subscribe, and
they commented. I don't know if they liked. Maybe they didn't subscribe either.
Hey, Collision Work, subscribe.
Yeah, no, thanks again for that. That was awesome. But yeah, so let's get into the bulk of this usual podcast. Let's get back onto our usual stuff, which I am still working on getting these episodes up. It's gonna be real fun when this comes out, like fucking forever and a half
all
later.
All episodes have been released.
Because this is going to come out so much later because I'm still catching up on episodes. What did I want to start with? Well, I always start with Reddit whenever I have it in here, so let's do that. And this one is a bit of a doozy.
That's on Best of Reddit updates.
Yeah,
this is gonna be crazy.
Have you read this one?
I have not read this one.
Not only is it on Best of Reddit updates, there was another update after this one.
I saw the titles of those like shortly after you put them in there, and I was like, "Oh, this will be fun."
Yeah. So this is my wife friendzoned me and wants a platonic relationship. This was companionship. Sorry, I fucking half my screen is taken up by the phone recording right now.
Less than I don't know.
I think companionship. That is the fact that it's platonic and you're married to this person is crazy already.
It's definitely a downgrade,
right? So this was initially posted in r/marriage a few months ago, back in May, but
there's a trigger warning, but it's
it's manipulation, possible controlling behavior, not as.
Okay.
And it has an ongoing tag. Does that just mean that it's like...
At the time of the Best of Reddit, this post was made, it was still ongoing. There was still more to be done.
Oh, I see.
So that's why I have the second one here. But anywho, we'll get to that in a second. So my wife, 35F, and I, 35M, have been married for 15 years. I'm going to pause right there. I never want to tell anyone how to live their lives. I never want to say anything with like absolutism or anything like that. But in the years that I've been reading these stories and I've been like examining relationships in my life and all that kind of stuff, it really seems like marrying in your early 20s is just never going to be a great idea.
Sometimes it can work out, but generally not an intelligent decision.
It's not a great decision to make, and it always seems to wind up with a lot of problems a few years down the road.
Yeah, even the situations where I've seen where it's worked out, it's taken more work.
Far more work.
Than you would have probably expected.
Some would say it's almost like you're two different people by the end of it.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe there could be a case where you've grown up together and you've known each other for forever, where maybe that could work. But even then, there's still a lot.
Yeah. Like
I would personally say not even then in a lot of cases.
High school sweethearts happen and they live happily ever after. Like shit like happens, but it
the percentage of that happening is not in favor. Just in like my limited experience.
The reason I say that it's happened is only because literally I know people who have done it.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, I would be like, one of my father's best friends married his high school sweetheart. And I can't speak to. I haven't seen much inside of their relationship, but I know my parents also married pretty young, and they went through some stuff.
Interesting stuff.
So
right, it's like just if you're in your early 20s, ready to get married, just my opinion, maybe hold off for a couple years.
Longer, you can make a commitment.
I was gonna say be well committed to each other. Like always be committed. This is not about still play the film. No, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit conversation. But it's like definitely be committed, but just don't take that step just yet.
You can make a commitment to somebody without putting it on a legal document.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people don't know how much that changes shit for relationships, but as someone who's not married and is not getting married anytime soon, as far as he knows, I cannot speak with any certainty
I forgot
about
to
that.
tell you guys, I'm getting married tomorrow.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Hell yeah! Cole, congrats on that.
Yeah.
Can't wait to meet the lucky husband and or bride or groom.
They're a broom, actually.
They're a broom. Can't wait to make the leap. Damn.
You good?
I know.
The broom pops out of the closet and just starts rolling down the stairs.
It's a surprise.
I thought you were gonna wait.
You weren't supposed to tell them yet. You were gonna elope first.
The shrooms are kicking in.
Shrooms are kicking. We should definitely do an episode on shrooms when we're big enough to be able to do it off YouTube and do it like as a Patreon exclusive or something. Anyway, just casually talking about doing drugs. Psychedelics. I don't know if I could call that drugs anymore. All right, ADHD. Stop. So, 235-year-olds been married for 15 years, and we've been together for 20 years. Oh, Jesus. They've been together since they were high schoolers.
Damn.
15.
Yeah, literally since 15. We have 2 kids, 12 and 14. So birthed right after marriage.
This math I'm mentally doing is...
So yeah, they got married when they were 20. A year after they had their first kid. Another 2 years after that, they had their second kid. We absolutely adore it and work tirelessly to provide the best possible life for them. For the past 3 years, things have been somewhat bumpy. Understatement of the fucking year. I understand that our kids are at an age where they require a ton of our attention and resources with school, band, club sports, and other extracurriculars, and I'm aware of the physical and emotional toll that can have on marriages. However, for these past 3 years, my wife and I have had very little intimacy and very little sex, and we've been trying hard to work on that aspect of our relationship. This past year has been the most difficult and by far the darkest year in our marriage. We didn't talk very much. We essentially became roommates, co-parenting our kids under the same roof. It was very depressing and very demoralizing. It was to the point where we began contemplating divorce, and it became very dark and gloomy in the household because of that. We began seeking help with both individualized therapy and couples therapy, and it seemed to have helped some. Little by little, we started to get along and started to have deeper conversations about what our marriage looks like and what we would love for it to look like. This is where it gets tough. As time passed, my wife started to tell me she no longer was in love with me, and that she only saw me as a best friend, that she only loved me in a very platonic way, and this was one of the main reasons she didn't have any desire for intimacy and let alone sex. This was very shocking to me, and quite frankly, I was devastated. I became angry and depressed, and I couldn't fathom the thought that I was no longer wanted or desired by the person I fell completely in love with. Things began to deteriorate again, and not long after, we were back to square one. I sat down with her one afternoon and had a heart-to-heart and began to ask questions about where the root of this problem lies. And her answer was, I don't know, and that I have built up resentments towards you, but I don't know where it stems from. As you can imagine, this provides very little to no insight into how to approach this. I'm puzzled. I'm frustrated, and I do not know what to do at this point. Currently, we've arrived at a place where she says that she has no sex drive and no desire for intimacy or connection. She says that all she wants is simply companionship, which basically means our co-parenting roommate dynamic. I asked her what I could possibly do, or what is it about me that is so unattractive or undesirable, and her response is always, I don't know. She stated that she does love me, but it's not the same, that she has been feeling disconnected for years, and that our marriage just takes up too much work. Her focus is only the children for now, and that my co-parenting contributions are meaningful to her in our home. I'm at a loss and I'm mainly venting about my frustration. It's tough to realize that the person you love has no feelings for you. I feel like at this point, I'm only here to contribute financially and as a parent. I feel like what she means with companionship is that she's comfortable with the convenience of having a good father for our kids and my financial contributions to the household. In regard to intimacy and or sex, she basically told me that shit, I just lost my place. Fuck.
She basically told me that it's not something she's interested in
or wants at this time. Thank you. She mentioned that the only way to get to a point for any of that is to be intoxicated, which I believe is incredibly awful and very wrong. Yeah. I told her I do not think forcing herself to have sex or to be intimate by drinking or smoking is good, and I declined to be a part of that, which to my surprise, it upset her and made her more distant. We're both extremely honest and transparent. We've never cheated on each other, and we are always free to look through each other's phones, emails, socials, etc., and we hardly ever do. I asked her if there was someone else and she declined. Honestly, I believe her. We then peacefully went through each other's things, and as expected, it was clean. We've always been very forward, even with the hard topics, so I don't smell nor feel any foul play or infidelity. Am I wrong for declining to only be intimate or have sex when she's intoxicated? In parentheticals, I'm firm on my stance of not partaking in this only when I'm high or drunk sex because it doesn't sit well with me. I do not know how to help our situation. I'm starting to become a bit anxious and desperate. We're both fairly young and healthy individuals and good looking. We both have good standing careers and are good parents. I'm just not sure how our lives could have driven us to this point. I'd love some outside perspective on this matter and some insight on how to address something like this. It feels so awful to be unwanted and undesired by my own spouse. I hate it. TLDR, my wife of 15 plus years is no longer in love with me and doesn't know why. And now she says she can only have sex while intoxicated, or I need to settle for a platonic sexless marriage. And she doesn't know why that is, but it is what it is. And I'm in need of insider advice. So that was the original post. And we're going to pause there for a second.
Oh my God.
You see what I mean?
That's rough,
That's
buddy.
really rough. Like,
and not, it is.
I'm interested what the update's going to be, but
we'll get to him. Like, holy shit.
That is very tough because it's not like you could say, okay, then you just leave because they got kids and it's a family. It's like, sure, you can leave.
I think
but that creates a lot other problems for other people besides just you and her, because then you got kids involved and then there's a statistic.
There is a statistic, and that is true. But what I will say to that is you can't live your life based on a statistic.
Fair.
Yeah. And even though it's not loveless, in a relationship in which, and we've talked about this before on other Reddit stories in which this came up, I think there's a strong inclination to say that if it's just about the sex part, then that should be considered small potatoes to the whole situation, and I don't agree with that, especially at 35. That's basically my age. Like that is not at a point in which natural declination of like sex drive goes and all that fun drive, at least for I would say standard majority of people,
if the wife was typical in this situation, she should probably actually be at the peak of
she would probably be at the peak, right?
But I mean, not everybody's the same
and all that, right? I will say that in an unfulfilled, if you're having something that's unfulfilled going on in your relationship, no,
we don't want to update.
Stop asking me to update. I really do wish you could just turn those off. The difficult bit of it is not because of the kids to me. I think you should never stay in a relationship just for your kids. I think that's
yeah. Like we're going to talk about statistic. We could also talk about the fact that correlation is not causation.
It's not causation, right?
If you're going to be in an unhealthy relationship, you're going to be modeling unhealthy dynamics for your kids, right? Or if you are making yourself miserable, that's going to affect how you parent. It's going to affect your life in general. Eventually, you're going to break down,
right?
If this is a priority for you, because like there's a reason that like sex is on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Most people, it is something that in order for like living a fulfilled or happy life, it's something that they need to be present in one way or another. And so yeah, it's very easy to say like, oh, we got to stay together because the kids are yada yada, but
I do want to mention is the writer here makes a very distinct distinction. He draws a dividing line between, or not a dividing line, but he distinctly mentions intimacy and sex.
Yes, I do appreciate that.
And I think the crazy part is even with the stigma around like whether sex should be considered important, but the fact that intimacy is no longer on the table,
like touching, cuddling,
right,
a kiss good in the morning, right,
right. That to me is a crazy, and just based on this first snippet, the very original thing he wrote, that is not a thing that I would want to go through with what is supposed to be my next partner, right?
Yeah. Well, and like a lot of people will talk about, that's one of the primary ways that if you are having difficulty around sexual intimacy,
right,
is like paying attention to where your non-sexual intimacy is, right? Because a lot of times that if somebody says their love language is touch, that just doesn't mean boning down. That means that they like cuddling, they love being around you, they like it when you hold their hand, right?
I'll say it right now because I know there's a big stigma, especially because of online dating, that when someone says their love language is physical touch, that especially if a man says that they just want to have sex, which not incorrect. I do like sex, but a big thing for me with relationships, and not a lot of people know, is I'm really big on holding hands. I'm a big hand holder. I love holding hands. And that's what I look at when I say physical touch is important for me.
Yeah.
Also, like, never mind. There was a whole conversation about like love languages and kind of how that works and how people have turned it into a checkbox where you can only check one box, and really it's more of like a fucking, what is it, the shape pentagram
heat map.
It's more of a heat map, right, of kind of where things are. It's anyway. But yeah,
and like so like intimacy, if you're not even having intimacy, that sucks. Like that's a problem. And then I want to circle back because if you're not happy in your relationship, don't stay together for the kids, because it's gonna mess up your kids either way. Right. Kids
are not dumb.
They're not dumb.
They are. Kids are kind of stupid, but they're smart. They are ignorant to the world, and there's a lot of things that they have not experienced yet. Kids pick up on way more than we give them credit for, and kids oftentimes can tell when you're lying to them. And they can tell when something's not right.
Ignorant of your environment, they hear when you're fighting. They can see your glances, your passive aggressive comments. Right, they can tell when things aren't driving you. You're not communicating well.
Right,
and then if they can't, that's even worse, because then they're not aware that what they're seeing is unhealthy. Right.
Well, and too, it's like over time the kids would see like their parents don't hug anymore. That kind of thing.
Our parents don't show any kind of like they're a couple around us. Like what's like your kids will, and especially at 12 and 14, they're not like 3 and 4. They're not children. They are experiencing relationships themselves, or entering in the stage in which they will be. Like, they will notice a whole lot more with you staying there than they will if you amicably split. And like, even if it's not necessarily going your separate ways, or what it's like, because it does make an interesting situation in which the wife says she does still love him, but only as like a platonic best friend, which I would hate to hear that from my wife. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I would be fucking devastated.
That would absolutely.
I would lose my shit, especially when it sounds like for a very long time, based on the headspace, it sounds like they've had a very healthy communication. They've been really good at like working together. Right.
Which,
and
by the way,
they
went to get help, and they are actively seeking help.
Don't do.
So, and I want to make it very clear, this is not a situation. And I know none of us have made this, but just to be clear for anybody listening to us, this is not a situation in which there is a villain, right? This anything we say here is because we are discussing this from the perspective of the person who wrote it, which happens to be the husband here, right? So don't take anything we say as any kind of vilification of the wife here. Just it might start to lean that way a little bit.
This post could just as easily be, well, I mean, we're 3 guys. Our perspective is limited in some capacity,
right?
But this post could just as easily have been, I woke up today and I realized that my husband, I no longer desire intimacy with my husband of 15 years. At least at this point. I would say
even with this post without changing any wording other than husband and wife to spouse. Yeah. And this could have been completely like gender non, and it would have read the exact same way for the most part. But yeah, so that is like, so I'm not expecting any kind of like solutions or answers from you guys. Obviously, I don't think anyone could have an easy solution for this.
The one thing I do say that I don't like hearing from him is that he feels like he's responsible for his wife's desire for him. Right? He's asking for like solutions, like what can I do? Right? What can I? And I understand like being having that mindset in terms of like wanting to work together on your relationship, wanting to take responsibility. Like if you want this out of your relationship, you have to also be willing to put in work to make that happen.
Yeah, like how can I fix this? How can I help?
Yeah,
make it better.
But at the end of the day, he can't compel his wife to feel a certain way.
Right. I will say to that point, if that was the first place he went to, I would agree. I can see myself hitting that line of questioning after individualized therapy, after couples counseling, after we have gone through many of the steps needed to even get here. And it's like, when there's nothing else, I'm gonna, okay, what's going on here? Like, is there something that I'm doing? Because I saw that more. I mean, I think there was a couple of times he does say, is there anything he could do? But I saw in the first instance, he was asking more of, was there something I've done?
Yeah.
Because she does say she has resentment, even though she says she doesn't know where it comes from. I could absolutely see myself going down that line of questioning. And once again, it seems like they have a healthy enough communication style and marriage style that the usual red flags I would see with that, I'm willing to like kind of demote those to yellow flags in this particular situation.
I think you're probably right about that. Well, and the other thing, the reason I say that is like, if I was in that situation, right, I would absolutely be cycling through that mind space of like, what about me changed? What did I do? What
like into that front, it's so good that he just put it out in the open instead of festering on that
reminder that like I can't compel somebody else's feelings is what I would return to ground myself.
Exactly.
But the what was I going to say? Yeah, given no other information about the situation, right? My theory would be that the wife has something else going on in her life. Either she's too stressed out with kids, there's a situation going on with somewhere else, that this resentment or this emotion is developing, and that she's projecting it onto her husband.
Fair. That's my initial thought, and I think that was the husband's initial thought too. Is raising kids is fucking difficult.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much on that front because I think he gets into it with either this next update or the update after this, one of the two. But yeah, shit gets difficult.
I saw like the first sentence of the next part there, and I'm like, oh,
this is comments from this one. We'll get into in a second here.
Oh, okay, comments. Okay. Other people's comments
as well as some like this is a bit of a conversation in the comments between OP and some of the people. Oh. So I guess we'll just go on. Actually, there's one more thing I do want to say, and this is, I'm bringing this up because he phrases it at one point as if this is his question, even though clearly this has nothing to do with it. And he talks about the intoxication thing. So he says, am I wrong for declining to only be intimate or having sex when she's intoxicated, because his stance is that it's wrong. Clearly that we could basically say that's neither here nor there when it comes to what this real situation is about. But because he did ask very specifically, you're not wrong for not wanting to. There is never a reason in the world in which you would be wrong for not wanting to have sex with somebody, even if they are your spouse.
Well, especially if I'm definitely surmising here, but it sounds like a big part of this intimacy is feeling desired by his partner.
Yes.
Right? And so if his partner has to get into an altered state, if we're not even considering the ethical considerations of sleeping with or having intimacy with somebody who's in an altered mental state, having them have to get into an altered mental state in order to just be comfortable with intimacy with you.
Hurt me. Yes, so bad.
Yeah, like
emotional damage.
Like that is that. I won't say that's
yeah, babe.
worse
We could
than-
have sex, but you got to put a bag on your head.
You got to put a bag on your head, and that's like no. Now at this point, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm answering more to the moral question that he kind of unambiguously posed. There's definitely don't have sex with somebody who can't consent.
Yeah.
But I do think consent can be given into that situation as long as they're giving consent and knowing that that's what they want in that state. But that's me personally.
It was interesting to hear him say that, like, anytime he would reject, she would get angry.
And then she would get angry. That is an interesting thing to me, but he doesn't go on about that.
Right.
And made her more distant, but it's like, why is she?
Well, to me, that sounds more like she thought she presented an equitable solution and then he refused it. And then she just got frustrated with that.
Could be.
I don't think that was the solution she thought it was.
I don't think that's the solution she thought it was.
If I'm giving the benefit of the doubt,
I guess I'm saying as someone who enjoys CNC himself, I think there's ways you go about that it doesn't always have to be a moral absolute one way or the other, as long as like both partners are consented, have talked about it, and understand the dynamic they want to get into.
Absolutely.
But for your specific situation, no, don't feel bad about that. You want to have sex with somebody who's enthusiastically consenting and not forcing yourself into a space in which he's giving faux consent, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so to get to one of the relevant comments that kind of came up, this is more of a summary of it, but apparently people were asking, people found out they did swinging and they tried swinging. And to kind of like just summarize what's going on here, basically OP goes, yes, we did swinging. It was kind of in the process of them trying to figure out what was going on with the relationship. They tried swinging. They learned very quickly it wasn't for them. Swinging experience are together, and it was very sex driven, nothing really emotional or poly. Truth is, I have to believe her at a word. I have no reason to distrust her. Like during that time, they found out the wife just didn't. So they did it to see if it was him or if it was she just has no desire for sex, and that's what they ended up learning through the swinging situation, is that it's not even, because he was like, even if it was like she could have sex with somebody else, just not me, at least that's an answer. And I have to say, I am 100% with them on that. The worst part is not knowing.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be able to get a very concise, I'm just not attracted to you anymore, I'm sorry. Or
that sucks. It's devastating to hear, but it's something you can move on from and recover from.
But I'm going to recover and move on.
Yeah.
It's like getting cut. Like, it's going to suck in that immediate moment, but once that's done, okay, we can get to healing and move the fuck on, right? Versus what he's kind of in, which is just chronic pain, which is like, there's no great reason why it's happening and there's no end in sight. And he goes through this and it's just like, they did the whole poly thing. She didn't enjoy it. He didn't enjoy it. They got past it. I don't know to what degree people harped on this for. I didn't go back and read the original and look through that comment thread for it. But
and again, I'm sure people went crazy.
Yeah. People were asking what did this all happen after the swinging experience? He was like, no, this problem is what led to us even trying swinging in the first place.
Yeah. It's like the fact that they're trying like a lot of different options to try to either nip it in the bud to figure out what solution they could come to, and they're still not really connecting or finding that thing. Again, kudos to them for
attempting
continuing to try to figure it out. Counseling, trying to see if it's the connection between them and not between them and somebody else. Maybe that's stronger. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
In a different Reddit story, one I think we did on this podcast, but this was like a month and a half ago or something like that. Someone mentioned how they call it the no stone left unturned method. And they were talking about how, and this is wild paraphrasing because I don't fully remember the context, but they were talking about how they would rather do everything possible and know they did everything possible to figure out the solution before calling it quits. And it seems like this guy is definitely on that road. And I applaud him for that. And especially the wife for being willing to like do all this. Even if for her, ultimately, she was still in kind of the same place. Because it really comes down more to she's happy, even though says she's happy with the companionship, it's the resentment comment that sticks out to me the most, of like, I have resentment, but I don't really know where it's coming from. Armchair psychologist Rueben says it's probably from the fact that you got married in your fucking 20s. But like, not even in your 20s. You both barely entered 20s. You have known each other since fucking freshman year. If you started dating at 15, you both were barely into high school, started dating, and you have been around each other for fucking ever.
Went from an educational commitment straight into a lifetime partnership commitment.
Right. Like, it definitely has more probably to do with the fact that neither one of you had a chance to learn who you were and get to settle into adulthood away from the other. But I don't know, and I don't know why, and this is pure conjecture on my part, but it always seems that anytime I see this issue kind of come up, and it's not been, I don't think it ever even gets, well, I guess we'll get to it later if it does come up or not, but any situation I've read where there was definite resentment because of like wedding early, it always seems to be for whatever reason, it's usually the wife who has the resentment and I think there are some heteronormative problems that come along with marriage, just the way marriage is like kind of structured, in which generally speaking, life gets put on hold in modern day for just about everybody, especially if kids get involved, but it's generally still widely accepted that the mother will be the one rearing children, therefore, and then the physical aspect of it.
If we're being stereotypical, or actually even if we're looking at like statistical averages,
right,
a woman's freedoms are restricted much more than a man's are, right? Like, even if we're looking at, because people love talking about the way that this shit impacts careers,
right?
So like, even a woman, they say that men and women's earning potential, if I might be misparaphrasing this, but men and women's earning potential is largely the same until a woman gets pregnant.
Yeah.
And then it drops.
It dips because now the responsibility is no longer the assumed, what's the word? Not responsibility, obligation. The assumed obligation, because a woman now has a different obligation. It assumes that her obligation and her there's another word I'm thinking of. What is the word? Not obligation to the corporation. What is, whatever. Her willingness to put into the organization is going to go down because she has a different priority.
Contribution?
Not contribution, but it's close. But basically, a man will stay more dedicated to his job regardless of children, versus a woman will now have children to be more dedicated to compared to her
priority?
job. Priority is getting closer, but it's still not. We're not even prioritized.
Productivity.
No, that's further away. Yes, let's go with
penis
that.
Envy. No.
My penis envy. Anyway, the point being is that children are assumed to take a woman's focus away from everything else in her life, and therefore is seen as less valuable to a corporation.
Yeah,
compared to her male counterparts, even though children are.
To be clear, I think that that's a theory about why we see that, but I think the actual consequences are probably much more complicated, especially if we're talking about like statistical averages.
Right,
that's probably part of it. Part of it is probably maternal leave. Part of it is probably people not being able to return to the workforce after maybe there's physical effects that prevent you. Like, there's probably so many different factors, but at the end of the day, if we're looking at how people frame their expectations, and how these resentment might form, and how people's lives end up being structured, it is something that happens.
Yeah.
Side rant, that's one of the reasons why I'm so frustrated with the lack of childcare in the country, is because I think that the reason why we as a society don't provide for that is because we implicitly expect women to provide it for their own children.
Oh, easily.
And I feel like that is a shadow or an implicit effort to force women into the role of mothers and motherhood. But yeah.
I feel like the role of motherhood is so ingrained that I think it goes beyond the forcing of women into that. Much more as it is a clinging to an idea of old.
Yeah,
and it's an argument of semantics more than anything, but
but you're saying you think it's deeper.
I think it's less than society wanting to force women back into a mother role, and more of society clinging on to the idea of what mother role is.
Well, yeah, because I think that people don't even think about it. It's just an expectation that they have. They don't even think of providing childcare in the first place because they're like, oh,
the mother would do it. Like, that's what mothers do. It's like, we don't live in a y'all don't pay us well enough for that to still be a thing. We had this whole conversation about trad wives. The week we had a try, I think you were gone. I think you were at GDC that week. It was like, we don't make the money required to do that kind of traditional gender roles anymore. Even if I was behind traditional gender roles, and I have nothing against anybody who wants to live with traditional gender roles like that. As a matter of fact, I know people that do live with a stay-at-home parent because childcare is so stupid expensive. Sometimes it's actually cheaper. Yeah, like it is. I know a good friend of mine. From the church I used to go to, they decided like one of them was just going to stay home because childcare, especially for 3 kids, was so much. You almost have to work a job just to afford that. Yes. Like it was like the amount of money we spend out for childcare versus what I'm bringing home with my job, it wasn't worth me still working. Like we were almost hitting a point of saving money by just one of us staying home with the kids. And like, it's insane. It's the fact that is a consideration that has to happen is fucking crazy to me.
Well, and meanwhile, people like single mothers or single fathers who don't have a family support system are falling through the cracks. Yeah. Right.
And are absolutely just getting shafted because.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
So. Yeah. So, all right. Well, part 1 down. This was the update, his first update. A couple days after the initial post. So I wanted to give you guys an update of how the therapy session with my wife went this week. Not sure if this is helpful or not, but I took many of the responses, comments, suggestions from my initial post and put together some things I wanted to discuss with our couples therapist to help us navigate some of the core issues that may be affecting this situation. One of the main things that is the buzzword of this has been the term resentment. And it has been really eating me up inside, knowing my wife keeps telling me she doesn't know why she's resentful or doesn't know why this is affecting her emotionally or mentally. I brought this up with our therapist once again and resurfaced the conversation about being married for so long and being together since we were 14 years old. Our long history of growing up and now having children when she was 19 years old. Oh.
I didn't know it was that soon, like that.
His math ain't mathin'. They're both 35. Yep. They've been married for 15 years. You have a 14-year-old.
I mean, it could be like somebody was born in October and somebody was born in July.
No. I get that. But there still have to be...
When they're 14-year-old...
nearly a year-ish. Like, I don't know.
I mean, we're all within a year on all these numbers.
True, fair. Like, I'm not going to... I guess I won't hold him at that.
Like it's maybe 2 if you go to the 14-year-old from the mother being 19. But if she gave birth when she was 19, turned 20 that year, if she had it's still possible.
It's still possible, yeah. That's not a point to harp on.
Sounds like the setup for a riddle, actually. But
say it again?
Sounds like the setup for a riddle.
A little bit, yeah, right. Fucking math word problems. Let's go,
Joe
bitches.
Is 19 years old,
and Susan is 19. Fucking 18. Anyway, significant. Our long history of growing up and how having children when she was 19 years old, me 20, significantly changed the trajectory of our lives. We experienced severe poverty. We experienced severe poverty and many hardships in the process, and we essentially had zero social life for the past 10 years. Yeah, that'll do it. Because we were so busy raising babies, 2 kids now ages 12 and 14. She followed up with tons of questions directed mostly at my wife about her feelings toward this, and 90% of the responses were very our kids focused. It definitely felt like she was afraid of saying, yes, it sucked, because she would feel guilt or shame because it would imply she regrets the kids. I mentioned this in the session, and the therapist encouraged her to look at this outside of the lens of being a mother and to try to view it a bit more selfishly and individually, and it was very eye-opening. My wife mentioned that she was very frustrated with the fact that we did miss out on many things in life. She also was very clear in saying, I do not think I missed out on other partners or dating or partying, but I certainly lost all my friends. This was huge because one of the big pieces that has caused a strain in our lives is how siloed and isolated we've been, again, busy raising kids. I followed up by reminding her that it's important to have good friends and to make time for herself and her friendships. For the past 3 years, we've had that. Yeah. It's kind of a little too late if you're talking about this in the...
Well, and a reminder would make me so mad.
A reminder would be...
A reminder would make me so fucking
We're
pissed.
in a state right now where that reminder's going unhelpful. I'm already 30 minutes late racing down the highway, getting a reminder from my phone that my 8:30 alarm went off, and it's fucking 9:15 right now, would make me upset.
Yeah. And especially like when we've been in this together, we've both been through thick and thin, right? We've not had the time or the space, even if we wanted to develop those. And then somebody being like, well, that's important. I would be like, well, no shit, fuckface.
No. This next paragraph kind of clears up a bit about that statement, though. For the past 3+ years, we've had multiple conversations about friends and how it is important to have them in life, especially when you have similar peers that can help in many areas of life that perhaps we have no experience navigating, and even simply for enjoyment. It has always been something my wife avoids, even though she's always been someone who needs that external stimuli. The main reason for her not investing in friends or even herself has always been the kids. Like I mentioned earlier in this post, 90% of the answers have to relate to the kids to some degree. So he is mentioning that this has been a point of conversation. This isn't just, he didn't just bring this up in therapy. It's something that he's been, it is interesting how much, I don't want to say interesting, but it's nice how emotionally intelligent he seems to be, in which it's like, that is a very important thing to bring up and make sure that you're not siloing off. Now, granted, if this happened, he says 3+ years. So if this has been happening basically 10 years into having children already, it might not be the most helpful thing to wait until that late. But I think also at the same time, how much can you raise another adult, right? And how much, like, he's had to learn this shit too. It's not like this is a situation where he was in his late 20s and she was 19. Talking to you, the last Reddit post we did. This was a situation where he was going through the exact same not the exact same, but the same ebbs and flows of raising children in isolation that she did, right?
Like phase of life.
The phases of life. He was going through those same phases of life with her. But yeah, this is not to put him on any kind of high horse or a pedestal or anything compared to her. But it is interesting that he is able to see this kind of stuff and kind of call it out as it goes. At this point in our session, I started to feel like there was a common denominator, the kids, in most of the frustrations and problems she was experiencing. So I simply asked her, do you think you may be upset at me because I'm responsible for these kids in the sense that I got you pregnant so young? I wasn't ready, but she said that she was upset at me for that. She also followed up with the fact that she knows that's unreasonable because it takes two to tango. I did feel like it was progress because it kind of gave us something to work on and help alleviate some of these burdens. So we agreed to invest more time in nurturing good friendships, both together and individually. Towards the end of the session, we began to discuss what actionable items we would take away from this session. At this point, it was still very ambiguous and blurry as to what the outcomes were. I was very direct and very forward in asking my wife what her plan is moving forward. No, I had decided prior to the session that should my wife say the same thing about being a co-parent roommate, that I would take the 180 approach and essentially do me. He gets more into this later on, but if that description isn't enough, the 180 approach, I guess, is something, the way he uses that term, it's not just something he coined in this, it's something he picked up from somewhere else. And it's literally of, if she wants to live like roommates, then we're going to live as roommates. And that's basically what it goes. He's like, the 180 method is that if she wants to live as roommates, I'm cutting off the husband support, just to give like an overarch of what that is. She started basically saying the same thing, that she doesn't have any desire to be intimate or sexual with me as of now, and that she loves me immensely and she feels bad for not being there for me, as mentioned in my first post. I also brought up the brief swinging thing that happened, to which for the 50th time said it wasn't a problem. I agree with her on that. This was something that was a mechanical approach for a solution to a problem that was very much in existence when we tried this. We both really have no issue issue to this. We know what happened. We tried it and mutually stopped and turned the page. I hate that people harped on this so much that he had to explain it this way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I don't know how much more clear he could have been about the fact that we did the swinging after the problem started.
You took a step that's different from a traditional relationship. It must have been the problem.
It must have been the swinging. Anyway, I also brought up other life events that may cause resentment, and we ended up not getting anywhere else as far as the root for resentment, which was discouraging. I then basically expressed to my wife that I will not be okay with that arrangement. I told her that I've really done everything I can, and that this issue really has reached a point where it has nothing to do with me or require me to do anything that I'm currently not doing. I was very direct in saying that I will not be accepting this dynamic, and that I need to be with someone who is actively involved in our marriage, works towards resolutions, and is very much interested in maintaining an active intimacy and sexual relationship. I expressed how I am not going to be a convenience, and that there was more to life than being roommates and co-parents. I made sure she knows I love her dearly and that I do want this to work for the better. I also told her that I'm fully committed to this marriage so long as she is as well. And that if she wasn't, it's okay. However, I will not be a part of something where these efforts are not reciprocated. I told her I have no plans of leaving and I do not want a divorce. However, I made it clear that if this dynamic continues, that divorce will be the only outcome. This is so interesting to me because this dude reads as the perfect. After reading so many Am I the Asshole posts and a lot of the spineless staying in situations that clearly do not serve you well, and staying in situations that are clearly like kind of manipulative, toxic, or abusive, and not having the backbone to speak up or not having the ability to communicate with your partner properly. This dude sounds like the perfect person.
Execution 100.
Right?
He sounds like a very level-headed and emotionally intelligent person that's stuck in a shitty situation.
Yeah. Like, it's so crazy how much of like any other Reddit post, and we would be screaming at the person to either talk to your partner or get the fuck out of this clearly terrible situation.
We were in therapy and she said we wanted again, so we went back home and went to bed.
Yeah, they're almost over communicating at this point.
Right, right.
Communication's great. Like the fact that they were able to get to the bottom of it like this is good. Well, the bottom of it more so than
getting to a point where and we'll get into it more, but it's getting to a point where he has now accepted that he's done everything he can reasonably do. So of course tears were involved and it was a very bleak and sad ending to the session. Still nothing was said and I walked out. Nothing. The fuck? Oh, sorry. Still nothing was said, and I walked out very discouraged and very determined to start working on the 180 as soon as we left the room. It's painful and very difficult because much of the 180 requires you to be very short and cold and transactional. The saddest part is realizing this dynamic already is very cold and transactional. Here is where it gets very interesting. I started working on implementing many of the 180 recommendations that same day. I mentioned to my wife that, hey, things are going to be a bit different moving forward. I'm going to honor her roommate co-parent dynamic without reproach, and that it should be no mistake that I am not happy here. And it shouldn't be mistaken that I am not happy here. I'm going to like slightly edit these as I read now. I'm never going to be okay with it, but I am done working on it if she wasn't going to work on it too. She agreed and went to bed. I started to build distance and started to basically focus on myself, very short and transactional. She asked for help on some of her personal things, to which I declined, and it really shocked her. She was upset, saying I was being petulant. I explained to her that she is now fully in charge of her own life and her own issues. We didn't talk all day, and we only spoke when necessary. For a few days I keep this going, and she's very visibly upset and stressed. I typically react to that with gestures of help or nurturing, but I didn't this time. That night she was crying, telling me she's stressed and she thinks something is wrong with me because I'm indifferent. I simply listened. Then I told her that this is the dynamic she proposed and that I'm simply, much like her, taking care of myself and focusing on myself. I'm not going to lie. It has been very hard to be cold and distant because, as I mentioned before, I love her and I wish I could hold her and love on her. However, I know this is somewhat manipulative in a way just to get her way and still keep me in the friend zone. So I've been staying the course. Slight pause here for a sec. I still don't know what this 180 method is. I didn't go reading into where he may have gotten this from, and I don't think he really mentions where he picked it up from or anything like that. But I don't like the intentional cold and distance part of it.
Yeah, the way he's explaining it makes it seem like he's intentionally pushing her away,
which
further further than a normal roommate,
right?
would.
Like kind of more than really necessary,
right?
Because he kind of mentions that the 180 is almost like more about proving a point than it is a lifestyle choice. And I guess that is the point of it, but
it sounds sort of like it's like they're actually in a partially intimate relationship, and the 180 sounds like it's a completely
he's cutting off complete
relationship.
I'm of two minds about it.
Yeah.
One mind is if you're feeling neglected and rejected in your current relationship standard, and you feel like it's not equitable, putting up boundaries in order to take care of yourself, I think makes sense.
Right.
But
if you're going to tell me that we're co-parenting and we're roommates, then let's co-parent and roommate.
Yeah.
Like let's do like I agree with it on that front.
Yeah,
and that's where the struggle comes in.
Based on his description of the situation, I don't know. It's
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Well, because it sucks to watch somebody doing. Well, it sucks on two fronts. It sucks to watch somebody doing things that even they're not comfortable with,
right?
Because they read some like recommendation online,
right?
And it also sucks because it feels like instinctually this feels like manipulation.
Yeah.
Right. Like whether it's intentional or not, this feels like he could be manipulating his wife in this situation.
Right.
By in an already stressful and sucky situation, creating additional stress and emotional distance.
Right. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Well, yeah. And honestly, though, I don't have a good answer for it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a perfect way to go about what they're talking about.
Everything that's led up to this, I can fully understand why we hit this point. Personally, I say go on and fucking separate. Like, if you're going to... I guess no, because separating then involves finances of like finding a new place to live and all that fun shit, especially when you're already at a point where they say they're pretty well established in their careers, but doesn't necessarily mean they got owning 2 fucking houses money, right?
Yeah. Like as we said before,
renovate the shed.
Yeah, like what makes this harder is sounds like he's doing everything he can in a good way. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to imagine
that this method
is what he chose,
right?
And maybe there are way more intricacies than obviously he's able to tell us,
right,
with their relationship. Yeah, but it's just it's hard to.
I will say, to put like a very specific example to like what I'm feeling here. It was the very specific. She asked me to help her out with something personal, and he declined. And she was shocked to the point that she's now a couple days later now in tears of how stressed she is because she's not getting help.
Personal thing?
What was that? Right. I would need more specific details.
I would like more specific details because to me there's a difference between prioritizing yourself and going, hey, sorry, when I would normally drop and do anything for you, I'm not going to do that because we're not living as a husband and wife anymore. I'll help you out when I get the time, and intentionally just choosing not to help at all. Yeah, like that goes beyond being a roommate to being.
When we're roommates, we do things all the time to work together for this household.
It's like there's still things to put together, or even stuff that's like personal projects. Yeah, like I'm not going to be able to drop everything right this moment and come help you, but I will come help like if I have the time. Yeah, and so that's when he said that gave me a bit of pause of like that seems. I don't have so much an issue with the method as described. I have an issue with how far into it he's kind of going
the
right now.
Are being
where
drawn.
That bound is, right? But that was just a small thing of that is if we're at the point where she is now like crying in frustration, it makes it hard for me to believe him when he says that her crying is a manipulation tactic. Like that almost, because when this last bit, however, I know this is somewhat manipulative in a way just to get her way and still keep me in the friend zone. Him saying that makes me feel like he got the 180 method from the manosphere. Like it makes it sound like he got it from a very red pill adjacent thing.
From what I'm seeing, all of it says it's a technique used after infidelity for building self-confidence.
Okay.
Infidelity?
Yeah.
Okay.
So normally in a situation where somebody's cheated or somebody is cheating,
It's basically if
it's how you
the
decouple yourself
foundation
from.
is kind of built on not like begging or pleading, but just focusing on yourself and improving your own
Okay.
life.
Do we know what the source is?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious about.
Is it a,
It definitely could. I could see that coming from r/.
Is it a Dr. Mike? Is it a Joe Rogan? Is it a Dr.
Yeah.
K?
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, it's Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike is a commentator, is a fitness commentator.
Mhm.
And I think that he's a really good example of a
We're
middle
looking at
of
my
the
hair, I know
road,
it's shaggy as fuck.
straight down middle of the road manosphere guy.
Oh, okay.
It's on survivinginfidelity.com.
I love Surviving Infidelity. Actually, r/Surviving Infidelity is an interesting read.
Yeah, Dr. Mike, he's the kind of a person who's like a very straight shooter, but he's also a guy, but he's also very educated. So he has a very interesting mixture of stuff that I don't always agree with, but stuff that is sometimes like very level-headed. Anyways, it's
Not
not
as bad.
Always
as-
an interesting
yeah.
perspective on something.
Not as bad as the usual red pill crowd.
Yeah.
Surviving
Because
Infidelity.
I wouldn't necessarily put him in with there. I'm
Yeah.
just like he exists in that space.
That's what I mean, right?
Okay.
If it's from Surviving Infidelity, then I would say it's probably not as manosphere as I thought. It's so Surviving Infidelity, at least the Reddit community for it, is there's generally, because it is about infidelity, it's very much a clear protagonist antagonist situation going on, and it's always about supporting the protagonist. So there's the person coming to Surviving Infidelity, and then there's their wayward partner, as they call it, the cheating partner, the affair partners, and all that fun shit. So if it's coming from there, I can definitely see there being I can see it being a little more legitimized then. But I can also see it being kind of created by people that are not
Looking out for the needs of the other person in that situation.
right. Because clearly this is about this method. If this is coming from Surviving Infidelity, this method is about someone who's cheating on you,
Right.
not your withdrawn spouse. That's a little bit of a different deal. So to all of this, I would say to him, maybe modify that a little bit. Modify the way in which you don't have to follow this method to a T, because this situation is not what this method is used for.
Instead of a
But
180, maybe like a 130, 120, something.
Talk to your
fucking soft 165 or something. I don't know.
talk to your therapist about what
About
you
whether-
should do individually moving
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe mention
mention that you're trying to
mention
use this.
specifically what's that, like you could mention this. Actually, now that I think about it, he was clear that he was going to make changes, but he wasn't very specific about what those changes were going to be. It sounds like he kind of planned to spring this on her a little bit.
It seems like he said this at the end of, and he did say all this and gave her a chance to agree whether or not she was okay with it. And he did present this and said, look, if we're going to end this off with a roommate relationship, then this is what's going to happen if you're not going to help me. And she agreed before they went to bed.
Okay.
Granted, it's the timeline is a little wonky here on just how quickly this conversation happened, because it seemed like between the end of the therapy session and before they went to bed, all of this was decided on.
And he doesn't say what she asked help with, so it's hard to tell if it's unreasonable.
Yeah, I was going to say the specific details.
He just said it was something personal to her. So nothing with the household, nothing with the children. I would say my opinion still doesn't even change, even if we knew what that something was.
Well, I'm trying to think of something personal that would fall outside of. I'm trying to think of something where you would be like, hey, I need help with this. And I would be like, actually, I don't think that's my place.
Yeah,
Right.
like, is it like I need help getting something off the top shelf, or is it like I need help, I don't know, paying for this bill? or
Well,
something?
I guess the other thing, though, is we are closer
We are.
than I guess
I
a
would
lot
argue that someone, I guess in the dynamic that he's trying to go for, he would probably be distancing himself. But I would say that someone and their wife are pretty fucking close.
Well,
But
no.
yeah,
What I'm
dynamic
saying is like
in this scenario,
yeah,
there are different kinds of roommates.
right.
Right. There's a difference between, because I really, well, the reason I say that is because I realize that when I was thinking about you guys, I very much consider you guys family.
Right.
And like a capital F.
Right.
Right.
I consider you a good acquaintance.
No.
I'm kidding. A
My
companion
one-sided love continue. No.
I'm kidding, fuckers. They know that this is my.
We're gonna cut off all intimacy.
This
right
is my
now.
backup
There's
husband.
a reason I didn't start crying.
If this heterosexual shit don't work out, I got my man.
But yeah, no, and so, but like, there's a big difference between that and somebody who you're like, hey, I need somebody to live with me,
Right.
and to make up half the rent,
Right.
right? Somebody you only talk to when they're in the hallways and when it's the bills are due.
Yeah.
Like if you
Right.
had one of those and you didn't have time to set up your league stuff the night before,
True.
and you asked one of those roommates to do it, they wouldn't really have an obligation to do it.
I would say none of y'all have an obligation except for you because you're coming to eat my food. So yeah, I'm trying to, because I'm trying to say that I've thought about it from that perspective, but it is like a weird distinction to try and make. I don't know. This whole 180
It feels
method,
icky.
it feels a little icky. Like it feels a little messy in a way that even he doesn't really seem to like.
Like
He
the one
clearly doesn't
time
like it.
you're showing that you're maybe slipping up a little bit here,
It's like
and
you're
confusing us.
I can understand how he gets here though.
Yeah,
Once
I can personally though. I think I could have grace for that,
Mhm.
given the shittiness of the situation
Right.
and the lack of equitable solutions they've been able to come.
Like
up
I would say, if one of y'all were in your marriage and it hit the point that it hit here, like, and I got the background on what's happening and why we're here, I wouldn't look at you sideways for being at this point, especially when he also mentions like it fucking hurts doing it, and that he's trying to stay the course because he believes that that's the only way to get to a proper resolution. All of this is saying this before we've even gotten finished up with this update, and we still have another update after it. So,
well, this shit is crazy,
right? This shit is crazy. Deep. You know what I'm thinking of now that we said crazy? We had to go check that fucking Facebook post. Remember the one?
Oh yeah,
We gotta go check if there's an update on that. We'll do that after this episode. We'll see if there's been anything new going on there.
That's wildest shit.
Right. All right.
Just watching that man's face come up on.
Oh, it's so great. If you don't know what we're talking about, go check this episode here. I don't remember which one. I'll put it on screen. All right, to get back to it, we're now going on a week of this 180, and let's just say there has been many changes on her side. I think she is starting to realize there is more to me than just friends and co-parenting. I sent her a text a few days ago, essentially itemizing bills and separating the financial responsibilities 50-50, and she lost her shit. She basically told me it was out of left field, to which I responded, hey, friends going 50-50, and as your friend, I expect nothing less. This was so if you're going to play the friend card, that makes that a little weird. But anyway, I expect nothing less. This was very eye-opening because it gave me a glimpse of how I'm really taken for granted and how her level of comfort and convenience at my expense is really overlooked. I pushed through anyways and basically told her that this is the new dynamic she asked for and that it's still a bargain because she would have to be 100% if she was on her own. I'll wrap up with this. While the 180 has been working in many different areas, I'm still very much sad about the overall situation. There have been many eye-opening statements being said and realizations that have not been pleasant to encounter. It has also sparked new energy and new effort on her side as well. She's definitely seeking to talk to me more often, and while it's hard to turn down, I hope if things improve, this continues to happen. I've also noticed that she's making more time for herself aside from being a mom, which is huge because she pretty much neglected herself for years. I'm very pleased seeing her be more herself. My hope is that we work on ourselves, the marriage improves. That as we work on ourselves, the marriage improves. There really is no telling at this point where this will go. We are very much cordial and amicable even to this day, and that's a very good sign. Boundaries are set and expectations are very clear, and I feel that no matter the outcome, I will be at peace with everything that has been done. We're still going to continue the couples therapy until we either rekindle our marriage or end up in divorce. I feel like having this non-biased third party really helps as a witness and as a guide through this. No matter what, I will always love my wife. However, I will not participate in a sexless intimacy marriage because we both deserve better. Thank you for all the kind words and recommendations and feedback. This will be my last post on this topic, and I wish you all the best. He lied.
He's a liar.
Lying liar.
TLDR, my wife Friendzoned me, wants to just co-parent at my expense, but I started the 180 method to try and find a solution because she doesn't want to work on us, which seems to be working on getting her out of her rut and helping me discover more about how she feels. Also, therapy is paramount and highly recommend to all couples.
Yes. 1000% agree with that.
Right. I will say, on her part, it does very much seem like she got very comfortable with not wanting more, or not, because there's a thing that can happen with relationships where when there's a mismatch, the person we just talked about this with somebody the other day, did we not? Where when needs are not being met, or when there's a mismatch, it's usually someone is happy with where the needs are being met and are good with that, and someone is going unfulfilled in some area, right? And I will say, sometimes you need that fucking kick in the butt to realize, hey, that's still your fucking partner. And you got to go in and make the decision of whether, if you are going to watch your partner be hurt by your actions, you need to either fucking like put your big girl panties on and go, look, clearly what you want from me is more than what I can give you. And so it's going to be best if we just go on and separate. Or you go, I want you and I don't want to lose you. So let me do what we got to do to get us back on the same page in a place that we can both still be happy. I still have some slight reservations about the 180 method, or at least his implementation of it.
Yeah.
But if it works
for him,
and I do like that there is a very clear, because I don't remember if he mentions a timeline in this one. I think it's kind of ambiguous whether this is going to be definite, and I think he kind of leaves it as an indefinite situation for a while.
Yeah.
At least in this update. But a very clear, concise, like, either we're going to work towards something or we're not. And we kind of have to, I can see being that frustrated. I can definitely see hitting a point of that level of frustration where it's like, I know it's going to suck for her and for me, but like, either we got to do something. So any other thoughts before we move on to comments? And
yeah, well, the one thing that the primary thing that I see there that concerns me is, based on his comments, I don't know if he's creating space for improvements. Yeah,
I did notice that too.
Like where he's talking about these improvements, but he's also saying that he's like turning her down, or that he's not. And so it makes me question. Like I appreciate that he's putting these boundaries in place, but it makes me question what rekindling looks like if those boundaries are in place.
Those, right. So I will say will re-examine the bit that we paused for when he mentions like she's seeking out to talk to me more. It does seem like he's turning her down. So it's like, actually, yeah, no, now that I'm really thinking about it, if you're shooting her down, this kind of goes into the part of, and granted, it's been less than a week. It was like a week of this. So it's at least they're not going on like a month or some bullshit with this, right? But it does raise the question of, if you're noticing she's putting in more effort, but you're rebuffing those efforts, then what point is it hits a point where, and men have talked about this a lot, like in a lot of spaces where it's like men tend to withdraw from a relationship if they feel like their efforts are going completely unappreciated. Well, I don't see a reason why that wouldn't be true for the other side either. And once again, because it's only been a week, it might not be in the worst position, but if this 180 method is going, I can see her trying to be better, but I'm still turning her down. I guess the only thing I'll give to him on that is that it's a very clear, concise, we're living as roommates because you said we want to live as roommates. So we're going to live as roommates. And if you want for us to live as a married couple again, you got to make the decision for us to be a married couple, and that's going to come with work. That's the only thing. I'll give him that. And that's the benefit of the doubt I'll give to him.
Because you don't want to slip back into an ambiguous, undefined situation after you put those boundaries in place without clear communication about what's going to happen.
Yeah. So
I think that does make sense.
That's the benefit of the doubt I'll give him on that. Still mild hangups on the 180 method, but we'll get past it. Relevant comments. Someone said, so I'm going to assume that your wife has a lucrative job and you are both going 50-50 on childcare as you both work and share children, because otherwise this approach is just plain financially abusive. And if you're planning on saying, I won't pay the bills unless you have sex with me, sexually abusive as well. That's making a lot of assumptions based on you not reading any of this situation. Assuming that is the case and you aren't a total piece of shit, I'm actually interested in how this works out for you. I feel like I'm in an unstated similar situation. We both work and have blended finances, but we don't go to bed together or eat together, have barely any intimacy, a kiss or two, hugs every couple days, and spend maybe 8 hours a week together. Just the three of us, him, me, and the toddler. Even less, just the two of us, maybe 3 hours a week. Otherwise, he is on his game or out playing sports, watching YouTube, or whatever else he does. It barely feels like a friend situation, let alone a marriage. I'm curious how she handles it as the spouse that presumably was pulling away first. I hope you keep us updated. He responds to that. Yes, we both have degrees, good careers, and while I make significantly more money, her salary is very proficient and above average. The 50-50 was not to cripple nor hurt her financially, that is cruel, but mostly to send a message on what a roommate dynamic looks like in the real world. I really dislike how people immediately jump to conclusions about the finances as a way of manipulating her. It's not the case at all. Plenty of money left over after bills. However, 50-50 means she has less whatever money, and the understanding that roommates share everything equally. Prior to this 180 approach, we did everything together, and with our kids, we always saw ourselves as a unit that do things together, both alone and with the kids too. That's changed now, where I'm choosing to focus on more independent types of pastimes and focus. That is what has sparked a reaction and realization of there's more than just roommates here.
Is he admitting there that he's doing less time with the stuff with the kids?
It sounds like it.
Well, it sounds like maybe both of them are doing less stuff with the kids, which
in fairness, they're fucking teenagers.
I was going to say,
I
I
think
forgot
is
about that.
probably good.
It's actually a very good thing for both of them.
I forgot the kids were teenagers. I thought they were still like
these are not children.
Yeah.
These are teenagers who have schooling and whatever else, have schooling after extracurriculars after school. Honestly, probably the most involvement they have for their kids at this point is probably cooking and driving them to whatever activity they got to go to.
And in a couple of years, they won't even have to do that anymore.
And they won't even have to do that.
Yeah.
Buying cars is difficult.
Oh yeah,
and depending on financial situations.
Yeah.
But hopefully they will be able to hit a point where they can get a
$400 beater.
Get that winter beater, baby.
That speedometer don't work, but you can drive it.
Speedometer don't work. You got to guesstimate where your gas tank is, but hey, as long as it gets you from A to B. Whew, boy, I remember them days.
And maybe A to beneath the ground.
Someone commented, how does one dump half of the household expenses on the other person if they share a bank account, or are your finances kept separately? Just curious how this would work if applied to my life. Excellent question. We shared everything. The proposed 50-50 was suggesting we place the necessary amount to pay bills in the same account, and any leftover money can be deposited to a new account. And this is why she was very upset. She felt a huge loss of control knowing she won't be able to monitor my finances. Also, she felt a huge loss in her leftover money with this arrangement and saw that I would keep significantly more of my own. This is still being worked out because I think she is calling my bluff here, but my plan is to notify her next week as I modify my direct deposit and open a new account. It will definitely be more real there. To be clear, for all the trolls here, yes, she will have less leftover money after responsibilities, but it's still enough to live on. Example, for reference, assume I make $3,000 a month and she makes $1,000 a month. That's not even a lot of money, but I understand this is an example.
Yeah.
Responsibilities are $1,000 a month. So she'd contribute $500 and I would contribute $500, where before she would contribute only $250. This is the last comment I'll add regarding money and finances. She's fine and she's not hurting, I promise. When asked what if she leaves for another man, well, he says it the best. Interesting. She has no shortage of men hitting on her, and we're by no means jealous people. So I've witnessed this multiple times, and our reactions are somewhat indifferent. I will say, if another man for her was the answer, she'd tell me, or she'd have some inkling maybe. There's no telling, but I think the problem is deeper than superficial attention from a different person. Like, he's already been down this fucking road. Yeah. If it was about other people, they probably would have ended long before this point. You might, I don't know what he's responding to.
I think
here,
it's probably a similar comment,
but it's a similar comment. I only say that because I know there's definitely something that happened in between his last comment and this next one we're about to read. He says, you might be right, and if this is the case, so be it. However, I'll live with peace knowing I left no stone left unturned. Crazy thought. I know I would be disappointed and saddened if she did leave for another man that would accept the bare minimum, But I'd also feel at peace knowing it's not all my fault. I know I'm responsible in some way to some degree. That's just marriage. I know sadness and depression will creep, but we'll both overcome. But if this does happen, at least there will be clear reasons and clarity as to why it did. Also, I know for a fact that she wouldn't cheat. We're both very blunt, open, and transparent. This guy doesn't use commas. I just want y'all to know that. He does not use commas very often. And it's throwing me the fuck off. She would definitely tell me that she wants to step out on our marriage before it actually happens, as would I. We owe ourselves this respect for each other, and we actively practice it. I do love this dude's mindset and communication style, because it reminds me a lot of stuff that I've said in comments, like on Reddit and in different places. Not necessarily shit like this. I've never had this situation happen, but
I like this guy.
I actually very much like this guy.
I hope things do work out for him in the long run.
Well,
I'm gonna say,
reminder, he lied to us when he said that was his last update, because he does in fact have another update. So TLDR, this is update 2 to this is now on Off My Chest, which is interesting. So update 2 to my wife of 15 plus years, friends on me, and wants no intimacy.
This was 1 month.
He does a TLDR, but we're not going to read it. Previous posts in the comments. So everything we just read. So I debated for a long time on whether to submit an update on this matter or not. A few significant changes have taken place, and I felt it would be good to not only share with you, but also to allow myself to process all of this in a uniform way. We're now almost 9 weeks in on the 180 method I mentioned I was starting, and my eyes just did something weird, and it started to render some positive reactions from my wife. I explained in the previous post that she started to notice things that she previously took for granted, started to ask more about my whereabouts, and also started to notice I would go out with the kids more often without her. Okay, I guess that answers that question. And she started to invite herself, to which I didn't decline. I like that. I like hearing that. So much has changed, and it has changed for what seems to be for the better. This past Memorial Day weekend, my wife, my voice keeps cracking, and I know I'm going to pick that up later. It is what it is. This past Memorial Day weekend, my wife asked me if I wanted to go out for coffee because she wanted to talk to me about something. This was huge, because I can't recall when the last time my wife asked to talk to me about something important. I must admit, I was very nervous and worried about what this could be about, and my mind was racing with the plethora of scenarios of what it could possibly be. Of course, I agreed, and we took some time away from the kids to have this conversation at a local coffee shop. The talk was very constructive in nature. There was a ton of insightful information about herself that helped me further understand where she is in life, both emotionally and mentally. We summarized what the core issues we are encountering are, and she asked me for help. This is new, and I cannot tell you how excited I was hearing something so sincere coming from my wife, who for the last 2+ years has been absent. So after she was through sharing all her thoughts, I proposed a plan that I felt was right for us. This is something that I had been thinking about these last few weeks, and I was planning on bringing this up in a few months if I noticed that things were not changing for the better. This date felt like the right place to share it, since it goes hand in hand with what she talked about, and it also relates to the help she was asking me for. I started by first acknowledging her feelings and her concerns. I told her they were valid and how she feels is personal to her, and that I care that she feels this way because I don't like the thought of her being sad or depressed. I also told her that my goal is still and will always be for us to reconcile and be the happily ever after we vowed to be for each other, and that my love for her is strong, if not stronger, as it was the day we said I do. I continued the conversation by telling her how I felt about the whole situation, read previous posts for details, and how it affects me every day. I also clarified some things that she mentioned that she was feeling because how I have been very distant and monotone, transactional lately. I explained to her that I was very much trying to protect my feelings and emotions from the rejection and neglect, and that it wasn't personal. It was simply me safeguarding myself because I cannot control her. I can only control myself. This was a perfect segue to the core of this approach, which is focused on accountability. I told her that for the longest time, I was always working hard to make her happy and do things that I knew she enjoyed or wanted. However, it was always met with rejection and disappointment, which caused a load of stress on me. I explained to her that I had to make a change for myself. After all, I can only control myself and make the change that I want for myself. I mentioned how I was starting to implement new habits and routines that help edify me, all while still executing all of our shared responsibilities, including parenting, finances, and daily living activities. I explained that the goal is to continue to improve myself both as a husband and a father, learn more, and be healthier, among other things. She was very receptive to this. She told me that she sees what I'm doing and that she is proud of the changes she has seen. She also told me how she's starting to realize that she feels left behind, and that much of the things that have affected her negatively are her own fault. Towards the end of the conversation, which was about 3 hours, there was a very high spirit of reconciliation in the room. I told her that my goal is to ultimately make this work. However, I was very clear that I was not going to live under the current circumstances. I told her that my heart wants her to be happy, even if it means elsewhere, and that I also deserve to be happy myself. I explained that I do not want our children to grow up thinking this was okay or normal because they deserve better as well. She told me she doesn't either. She told me she doesn't know what to do, to which I replied, let's set some clear goals. However, the goals will be for ourselves, not for each other. So here's what we established. We are in charge of our own happiness. The key here is that she's not responsible for making me happy and vice versa. We both need to seek with that personal plan, what that personal plan looks like individually. Also, we're both encouraged to include each other in taking those steps if we want, but it is not required. We are in control of our own individual lives and our own journey. This means we're both responsible in finding the resources necessary to grow, change, and heal. We can definitely help one another when help is requested. However, unsolicited advice or help will not be rendered. We are responsible for communicating. This ensures nothing is left unsaid. If it was never brought up or discussed, it never happened. We're not mind readers, and we need to take ownership when we fail to communicate. Make a list of needs and wants. This gives us both clear direction about meeting each other's needs. This also gives us a choice as to what we choose to do, compromise on, or decline to do. This list will also will not serve as a checklist for accountability. We made it clear we would not be bringing this list up for the purpose of arguing, and it was up to the other person to use the list as a tool for growth, transparency, or clarification. We concluded that it was up to us to decide if we will be happy doing these things for ourselves because we care, not to simply check a box. This is very important in order to establish long-term habits and not short-term band-aids, because you cannot make someone change or do something they don't believe is important. The last thing they did was establish a deadline, which would have been Memorial Day 2025. At the end of the conversation, we concluded by setting Memorial Day 2025 as a hard stop to evaluate our lives and our progress. We agreed we would do this for the clear understanding that we will independently decide if we are happy here. If we determine we aren't happy, we will be getting a divorce. We would also both assume full responsibility for what happened should we get divorced. For example, if needs were not met, it would mean my partner chose not to meet them. This places full responsibility on each other in all areas. The whole process requires that if needs were not met, the next question should be, did we do everything to address this issue? If yes, then we will have a clear conscience of what transpired and know we left no stone unturned. If, however, we didn't do everything to address the issue, it will mean the issue was not important enough for you or didn't care to meet those needs. This goes both ways in all areas, like everything else. We established that the main motivator for change should be ourselves, and that if we did that, we would in turn begin to see beneficial changes towards each other. The goal is to ensure that everything we are doing for one another to meet each other's needs is being done because we want to do it for our spouse, not because he or she asked to do it. Instead, it was done because I know it makes him or her happy, and I love seeing them happy. I felt it was important to mention to her that we are no longer required to do anything for each other. It is now more of a I want to do these things for each other. Ultimately, I felt the conversation was very positive and productive. Many tears were shed and lots of hugging ensued. I know this doesn't mean or guarantee anything. However, this has never happened before, and I can honestly attribute it to the 180 method. I cannot give any more insight on this method other than it's the only thing I did different, and something new happened for what seems to be the better. I've decided I will conclude and will refrain from this method moving forward, as the plan now has changed. I'm planning to devote myself entirely to not only myself and my growth, but to also work on her needs and wants, because I want her to be happy by my side. She said and agreed she would do the same for herself. We agreed we would help each other and build each other up wherever we request for it, and that we will be approaching this as a team. As of today, some of the biggest changes I have noticed are her commitment to therapy and mental health. She is taking some antidepressants that are helping her. She is also more confident and in a far better mood more frequently. We have started to explore more ways of intimacy in multiple areas, such as physical touch and words of affirmation. Sex is starting to make an appearance, which is exciting. Side note, sex was very, very awkward to start when you've been abstinent for so long. We've also started to work out together, which is great, and have lost weight, which is also very exciting. Overall communication has improved, and I cannot wait to see where this leads. I hope this helps someone out there. I'm still very interested in your feedback and thoughts on this. You all have been a huge help in giving me hope and insight into this tough journey. Trolls aside, many of you have really been instrumental in my journey, both emotionally and mentally. I will not be providing any more updates until Memorial Day next year. I think it's now time to keep focusing on myself and start working on all the new opportunities that hopefully will arise with my wife. I wish you all the best in life and your relationship with those you love. Holy fucking shit.
Okay.
Fake.
Damn.
Never happened.
And he pulls the veil.
Guys, I have one issue with this post.
What's that?
It's too competently written.
Right?
It's too emotionally intelligent. These people, like, they communicate, they care about each other. There's no active abuse. It can't be real.
Where's the drama? Where's the drama?
It doesn't belong
Where's
on Reddit.
Where's the
drama?
conflict?
It doesn't belong on Reddit.
No, like what the fuck is this bullshit? No, I
want to yell at someone. God damn it!
To yell.
I'll cry a little bit.
Well, that's the end of this saga until 2025.
Until 2025.
Actually, there's a third update.
No, fuck you.
Yeah, there's not.
Fucking
There's not. At least as far as I know, there hasn't been a third one.
My wife died. Oh no!
Where the fuck are you going? Oh, oh yeah, but there's not much that has to be said for this particular update, because holy fuck, that
Good shit.
good shit. It does mildly read like someone who is just was tired of seeing the usual Reddit bullshit.
Delicious dookie.
But you did say what I heard you say, didn't you?
You said good shit. You said good shit.
And you said delicious dookie. That he did say that. Okay. Yeah, no, like I do very much hope for the best for both of them. It does seem like it was just her in a rut, and that hits. It is interesting that he mentions antidepressants.
No, I mean,
because there hasn't been a mention of depression at all up till this point, and it's good.
I was gonna say something actually,
right?
Because it's really hard to say without having the wife's perspective. But if she was that complacent about things that she cares about, if she was that stuck in her like holding patterns of love, of caring for her kids, of her purpose in life,
right?
Like, I know what that feels like in my life.
I was gonna say I know what that has been described as in a lot of situations.
I know what happened to me over quarantine. Like
what happened to a lot of people over quarantine.
Yeah.
It is, but right. It is for how much, and I guess he did say, she mentions how she's now taking it a lot more seriously now. It is very interesting given how, at least the way he speaks and he describes it, just how, I can't even think of the word I want to use here, but it seems weird that antidepressants and the route of like if she has depression has not been brought up before. It's interesting to me that this is happening now, not in an accusatory way. It's just like when I say interesting, I mean interesting.
Like based on all of the conversations we've been having and the techniques you've been,
the way that they seem clearly supportive of like therapy and counseling and
that like mental illness wasn't considered,
right? Like that.
Does seem strange.
It seems a little strange that it took this for her to get on an antidepressant. But at the same time, sometimes if you don't know, you don't know. Like she could have fell into this depression and she was attributing it to resentment and a lot of stuff because
you know what depression does do? Reduces sex drive.
And it does do that.
So like,
it does do that.
And when I'm going to take it back to what I first said, where I said that she's experiencing emotional distress from some other area, and projecting it onto her husband. I've seen very similar thought patterns that occur when it comes to like anxiety, right? Having anxiety, then attributing it to the most relevant stimulus in your life, often your romantic partner, like that's totally what could have been going on. Actually, it sounds like what was going on was way more complicated than that, but it sounds like it could have been an aspect.
I think there's a whole asterisk that goes next to this conversation that says everything going on here was far more complicated than what any of us can actually get into because we don't know the full scenario. We're getting one side of the perspective of this whole thing. So don't take anything we say with like sincere, like 100% certainty or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm deeply impressed.
Yes.
It sounds like people, like any group of people that were less committed to each other, less insightful, and less willing to seek help would not have made it through the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like they're
definitely on a path to a really good place.
Yes.
If they get to the end of it.
Whether they're together or separate.
Right.
It sounds like they're seeking a better life for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
They're making
with intention and purpose, which I think.
And this seems like a situation where I think they'll come out the other side together and stronger than ever.
Like they're making those self-improvements that regardless of if they stay together, they're going to be able to take into their life for the, for the betterment of themselves, if anybody else.
Yeah. So this was a doozy to read. This was a fucking nearly hour and a half long reading discussion, but this was such a compelling one to go.
Really cool.
Like I was like just sitting and reading it on my own too when I was deciding if I was going to bring this in or not. Like,
man, it must have been real awkward to reintroduce that piss kink after not fucking for 4 years.
Yeah.
It probably was. Probably not an easy one to bring back. I don't know. I wonder what would that be like? Because like, this is someone you've had sex with before, but y'all been not fucking for like,
and it's like
forever.
And it's like the last time you did it, one party probably didn't even like really
want to.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it would probably feel a lot like having sex for the first time again. Not necessarily because like you lack of experience or anything, but because you put so much emotional weight on this activity and it's been such a point of contention.
Oh yeah.
That reintroducing it must have been that
re-navigating that from the emotional standpoint would have absolutely been kind of crazy. But this is one of the few times where I'm allowing myself to fully believe that this is a situation that is happening and is currently ongoing in the actual world. There's a lot of these where normally I have to read Reddit stories with a grain of this is fan fiction this is for entertainment purposes. If I can't inject too much logic into this, or I'm just going to be disappointed with how it works out.
And then we both dropped our towels and she saw my fully erect penis.
Somehow.
Did I ever tell y'all about the one I read
You told me about it, but I came across that one organically.
Oh, that's right. You did. Okay, we did talk about this. Did we tell you? Talk to you about it? There was one from this was the height of Today I Fucked Up. There's a reason I don't read anything off Today I Fucked Up anymore, because it is the most. Actually, it was because the mods straight up said that these are creative writing pieces and we don't give a fuck if they're real or not. And that's so I was like, then what's the point of this fucking?
Right.
Anyway, so there was the one that finally got me off Today I Fucked Up was this dude was like, today I fucked up by not realizing my one of my co-ed roommates was still in the dorm. And to paraphrase the story, it's everyone's heading home for COVID. This was like at the beginning of COVID, I believe. Everybody was heading home. He lives in a 6-person apartment dorm situation, 3 guys, 3 girls. He's a sophomore. And so like he's still there he thought all the other roommates had already moved out. And so he decides to take a shower, and just on this particular day, he decides
moved out as in like
moved home. Like this is all in college.
Okay.
So they're all college freshmen. This is the start of the pandemic and the holiday is coming up. So all of them are gearing up to head home.
Oh,
they're all moving out, right? And so
he thinks he's the only one that is still living in this apartment.
Yep. He believes he's the only one still in this dorm / apartment, whatever the fuck setup is, right?
Gotcha.
This wonderfully co-ed that is perfectly 3 men, 3 women situation. And he goes to take a shower. Say again?
On a college campus?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
remember if he said it was on the college campus or if he lives off. I think he might have even mentioned that it was off campus because that would have been too stupid of a detail not to that would have
been the red flag right there.
Right. But so he decides on this day, he's going to take a shower and he's just going to free ball it back to his room. Because so the apartment does have 2 bathrooms, one for the guys, one for the girls. For some odd reason,
they're in the same hallway.
And for some reason, they decide that the bathroom that the guys are going to, that each party is going to use, is not going to be the one closest to their their rooming situation. Is going to be the one in which they would have to cross each other. So, if guys are on the right, girls are on the left, as far as sleeping arrangements go, and there's 2 bathrooms in between, the guys don't use the bathroom on the right. They go to the bathroom on the left, and the girls use the bathroom on the right, closest to where the boys sleep.
Why?
Who knows? So on this particular day, he's free balling it, and his 8-inch cock is just flapping in the wind, perfectly erect, because that's how penises work. I might have embellished that part. I might have added that part in because the situation's so fucking stupid. Otherwise,
it's breezy out, you know.
It's breezy. As a guy who likes to fucking air dry himself, like I get it.
It could go one way or the other way. But you never know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're gonna get. But as it turns out, he's not alone in the in this dorm room. As a matter of fact, his hot 18-year-old freshman co-ed roommate is actually still in the apartment too. As he was leaving his bathroom and deciding not to wear a towel because he thinks he's alone in the apartment.
She was leaving her bathroom?
No, she was leaving her room to go to the bathroom, and she thought she was alone too. So she was only wrapped in her towel and decided she was just going to walk around wrapped in just a towel to the bathroom. And wouldn't you just know it? At the exact time he went to open the door, she opened her door, and they were face to face with each other. And she was so surprised. You want to know what happened? She jumped and the fucking towel fell.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
That's so crazy.
Wild.
Guys, I fucked up so bad today. She saw my 10-inch dick and she just like stared at it and like bit her lip and just looked at it. Guys, I fucked up so bad today.
And then she kind of slipped a little.
And then she slipped a little and then she got on her knees and like
right on my 10-inch schmeat.
Right on my 12-inch dick. It was crazy, guys.
I didn't know what to
do. 14 inches.
My dick was 7 inches this morning, and now it's 17 inches.
On this day, I just so happened to take those sperm steroids. So I was
that was the fuck up.
That was the fuck up. It was the most ridiculous. Like you didn't even learn about sex from porn. You learned about porn from the fucking 70s. Like you are so clearly someone who's never been in a situation in which sex has happened. Parroting, you're either you are either absolutely trolling the subreddit, or you are just fucking stupid and have no idea how sexual interactions between like actual adults actually happen.
Or this is legitimately
a
real life cartoon character.
It could be
who literally has these like interactions on the daily,
right?
Reborn in a world where my dick grows every time I lie on Reddit.
Literally isekai. Isekai.
Literally isekai into this fucking world. It was
with the 10.
I should see
like that anime title,
right?
Being so long,
dude.
I should see.
I say that as a joke, but the number of mangas I've started where the guy wakes up and he goes, "Oh, I'm hot."
Yeah.
Whoa, my cock is so big. Never address it again.
My muscles. Whoa, what the?
Oh my fucking goodness. Oh, Reddit never change, man. Oh, that's right. 2 news articles to get to. I think some of this stuff I might say for next week because this Reddit update took a while.
It did. I feel like I need a break.
Let's do these 2 articles real quick.
Okay.
They'll be a little bit faster, and then we can take a break and get into Kent stuff, and then
I don't even remember what I really got going on here.
That's why I want to take a break so we can look at it. So first thing first, I I don't know. I'm not personally familiar with this game. But I guess there's a game called Rollerdrome. So the title of this article is "Please Pirate It Because None of Us Work at the Company That Owns This Anymore." Dev of stylish skating shooter marks its 2-year anniversary with a call for piracy. Rollerdrome dev Roll 7 was reportedly shut down by Take-Two earlier this year, though the publisher denies doing so. It's Rollerdrome's 2nd anniversary, and one of its developers has encouraged new players to pirate it instead of giving money to the publisher that reportedly shut down the studio. Rollerdrome, if you're familiar, is an absolute roller coaster in all of the best ways. Part skating platformer, part third-person shooter. It has effortlessly carved out a space in 2022 as one of the coolest games of the year.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
I mean, that's one a sleeper indie hit,
right?
Yeah.
But you should know Ali. The studio behind the effort, Ali series developer Roll 7, was allegedly shuttered earlier this year in May by Take-Two as its CEO received a $26 million pay rise. So now user interface experience designer Anissa, I'm not even going to try, Mark's, I'll put the fucking name of the tweet on the screen now. And Anissa Sanusi, I don't know this person's native origin, so I don't even have a place to even try and start pronouncing his name, marks Rollerdrome's 2-year anniversary by requesting people pirate the critically acclaimed game rather than buy it. Why? It's simple. Every Rollerdrome sale sends money straight to the Take-Two rather than the developers who actually made the game. So I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but because that's pretty much all that needs to be known is call for piracy because shitty companies are shitty. I can't even necessarily fully say that. I don't know a lot about Take-Two.
devs gave up their IP. They failed their capitalism.
Y'all failed at capitalism. But it's like,
their fault. This
is me just saying, if you want to play Rollerdrome, there's plenty of sites you can find it on.
I have a USB stick.
I have a USB stick, yeah. We can fucking ship that thing across the world. It's crazy. Ain't no crazy. I'm not certain about this entire situation. It does speak to the royalty situation in which we don't get, like, devs don't get royalties for the games they make. And I think that's a little crazy. They get I think I can already tell some arguments will be said here.
This is why we need to fucking unionize.
This is why we need to unionize, right? But I can already tell that there's people that are going to argue, well, you got paid up front for this, which I thought of initially. And
no, that's so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That's it. So shit. Why didn't I ever think of this? Oh my God.
I think you're going to make the point I'm thinking of, and I want to see if you get there too.
Well, like, if you're responsible for the design and implementation of an IP, and then the company that you work for then owns that and it sells it in perpetuity, but you never see any of that, what the fuck? Like, you're an actual, and they just stole your intellectual property from you because they provided the computers that you worked on. That is completely fair. If an actor and a writer get royalties for the movies that they work on because they sell it for perpetuity, even if it's like 25 cents a month,
there's no reason a dev should not be getting paid for every copy sold, because it is crazy to me that while they do make a paycheck up front, the fucking value add for a game for a publishing company is indefinite. As long as games can be sold, they will make money. And a lot of that money is generally made like the first fucking month. Like a lot of that money is made back in the first month. So to not only continuously make money, you've already made your money back, to not only now continue making money off that, but to then also shutter the dev team that fucking made the game, and you took a $26 million pay raise. This is why people pirate shit. This is why people fucking pirate shit. And speaking of why people pirate shit, did y'all hear about the Disney Did y'all hear about that Disney lawsuit that happened?
Oh, yeah.
Couple weeks? I think so.
Oh, yeah.
So the fucking quick and dirty on it is a guy and his wife were eating at
a restaurant in Disney Springs.
Yes.
Which is important to note is on Disney property, but is not within the Disney park.
Is not within the Disney park.
Oh, I didn't hear about this lawsuit. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, but it's on Disney's property. And so the guy's wife, deathly allergic to, I believe, dairy and
nuts.
What? Oh shit, dairy? Like
the two most common food allergies in the fucking world, right?
Yep.
Well, I guess how allergic, but I guess I'll find out here in a second.
Boy, you about to find out. When we said deathly,
allergic.
we didn't say deathly lightly.
I didn't say deathly lightly.
Look at the type.
Right. But so they're eating at this restaurant, a restaurant they go to specifically because it's known for its allergenic options. What's the term? They heard that this place is really good about accommodating allergies.
Yeah.
Which is like, so we chose to eat here because this would be the best option for my wife and her deathly allergies to dairy and nuts. They confirm with the wait. So the waiter comes by, waitress comes by. They confirm multiple times, and they're like, we want to make clearly certain, because if my wife is deathly allergic to this, is the dish you're about to get, will it have dairy or nuts in it? They are assured multiple times that it is fine.
My wife will die.
I wonder where this is going.
Spoiler alert, the wife dies.
Oh, she dies.
She
Damn.
dies.
She
is dead. There's a reason this is called a wrongful death lawsuit.
I did not see that one coming.
It's not like an allergic reaction.
She did not.
The restaurant killed a doctor because of their incompetence.
They killed a doctor because
As
no
if
one
killing-
confirmed.
As if killing a normal person isn't enough. To kill the doctor.
I didn't know she was a doctor, and I don't know why I said, "Oh shit, a doctor!" Holy fuck!
Like
This doesn't have poison in it, right?
I
Oh
will
no,
say-
it doesn't have poison in it.
The
This
importance-
doesn't. And yeah,
does it have
45 minutes later is in the hospital because
As
of
it
poison.
turns out, it
and
was in
dies.
fact poisoned. But I will say the significance of her being a doctor for a lot of people will be the fact that this is not someone who doesn't understand medical terminology or understand like how to take care of themselves. And this is somebody that most people would reasonably believe and understand and expect would know how to take care of themselves and would do everything in their power to take care of themselves on the medical front.
You can't blame. There's really no way to blame the victim.
It's really hard to blame the victim when they're a fucking doctor. Not that should be.
Not that would ever be acceptable, right? But it at least helps you. It
really drives home how fucked up this situation is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she dies. Like, she has a extreme allergic reaction. As it turns out, like all of the safeguards in place on whether or not her dish would have had the required treatment to it was, hey cooks, does this dish have nuts or dairy in it? Nah, it should be fine.
I mean, if
that was the
ever
extent of that.
done a whisper of
Right.
food service, hearing that story is fucking insane.
Right.
Right. The amount of protections that they had in place. We went through a standardized training as dumb fucks at Zoop on how to prevent allergy cross-contamination.
It's
right?
almost like no company wants to get fucking sued for killing somebody for
When
an allergy
I
they said they had.
was working at Dave & Buster's
Mhm.
as a game tech. I never touched food.
Hey, were you
I
trained
was
on
still
allergens?
trained on the basic process that they took for avoiding cross-contamination with allergies.
Holy shit.
Like, the fact that this happened is insane to me.
Right.
And that company deserves to go bankrupt.
Well, so wife has an allergic reaction, a reaction so severe even her EpiPens, like emergency administered EpiPens, don't even help. Like, that's how bad this is. That they could not have done everything any more right if they fucking wrote a script on how this shit was going to go down. Everything right, wife still dies.
EpiPens are in the hospital immediately.
Immediately, all that fun shit.
Yeah.
So she dies, husband is now in grieving, and they're now bringing up a wrongful death lawsuit against. I don't know why. The part that always confused me is how it wound up at Disney. If it did not,
Well,
I think it kind of started there and kind of got escalated up to Disney.
Yeah, well, it's in a situation like this, right? Realistically, you go after whoever's going to be able to give you money.
Right. Which, the crazy part of that, dude's only asking for $50K.
Well, he's okay. To clarify, it's a minimum of $50K.
Oh, okay.
So in order to get into the proper court to legislate, the events that are happening, you have to ask for at least $50K. So the reason people say $50K is because we don't know how much he's asking for right now.
Okay, we did not. Okay.
Yeah, but we know it's at least
$50K. Okay.
And so it's unclear whether Disney's even fucking liable in this situation because the to my understanding the restaurant just exists on Disney property,
which would have been a fine argument if that's what Disney had came out and said initially. If Disney had just went, "Hey, look, we're very sorry for what happened. This happened. This is always a tragedy. Unfortunately, as this was the restaurant is the one responsible here. We are not looking to be held like legally responsible. We can't be held legally responsible because the restaurant that we only leased the building. We don't have any involvement with their legal process, right? That would have been one thing. Instead, what Disney decides to do,
goofy ass,
is because Disney can never keep goodwill going for anything longer than 5 minutes. Like, we were all like, hell yeah, Disney, stand up to DeSantis and his weird, stupid fucking Florida bullshit going on. Like, you could have rode on that fucking high for a while, but no, because Disney wouldn't be a mega corporation if it did that, now would it?
Well, if you're going to use your mega corporation, at least use it to fight evil. Never mind.
Never mind.
That's right. Your mega corporation powers are kind of inherently.
What Disney decides to do is put in a bid to have the case thrown out because when his last name is Piccolo, which is fucking crazy.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that's his last name is Piccolo.
Mr. Piccolo.
Mr. Piccolo. When Mr. Piccolo,
it's wild to hear.
Right? They decide that they're going to throw out the case because Mr. Piccolo, not the guy who died, by the way, it's the husband of the person who died. Mr. Piccolo signed up for Disney Plus, a free trial of Disney Plus a few years ago, in which hidden deep in the subtext of the TOS is a arbitration clause that says Disney cannot be sued, according to Disney, for anything, and that all things must go through arbitration. So any lawsuits brought up against Disney must be settled out of court according to this TOS for a fucking trial to Disney Plus he signed up for years ago.
Wait, in their TOS, that negates anything?
Well,
here's why it's kind of wild,
have
don't
they
you?
updated the TOS
I want to say
since?
is
I'm curious now.
So I was watching a video by Legal Bites. I put the link in the thing so you can link it in the description because they're going to do a better job of breaking this down.
Oh, absolutely.
Than I did. They sued them on three counts of this, actually. 3 different counts of trying to go to arbitration. One for the Disney Plus subscription, one for purchasing a ticket from Disney.
I remember that, and that's the one they also tried to bring up afterwards.
And then I forget what the third one is.
You keep talking, I'll skim.
But yeah, Legal Bites did a great breakdown on how, aside from the PR disaster that they signed themselves up for, how absolutely moronic of a judicial argument this is, because first of all, Mr. Piccolo is suing on behalf of his wife's estate. Right, he's suing on behalf of his passed away wife, who didn't sign up for the fucking subscription. And then, in addition, before you even go to that, when you go into the Disney Plus actual TOS, they define arbitration, they define dispute, and guess what it's defined as? A dispute resolving around Disney Plus.
Yeah,
like it's not. It doesn't make sense.
Who was out of the office when this happened?
Well, it feels like some corporate fucking half-wit schmuck went to their lawyers and said, do whatever you have to do to make this go away.
And the interns were in that day and not the regular lawyers.
And used Chat GPT.
I have anything?
That, honestly...
Oh, maybe.
Well,
that feels like what might have happened.
I'm parroting what Legal Bite said because she was talking about how like lawyers make agreements, like legal arguments that they think are dumb all the time because they work on behalf of their clients.
Yeah, true.
Right? And she was like, it's unclear exactly how this happened. But either they were throwing everything they could against the wall and they made it fuck up, or somebody specifically requested that they do everything they could, and the lawyer was like, okay, if that's what you want,
we will try.
Honestly, so the reason we even brought this up is because Disney is dropping that fucking stupid ass bid.
Thank God.
They're dropping that because even the most evil people have to recognize, like, yeah, this ain't a good look. This is a bad look for us.
It's not even the look. Would that have worked?
It wasn't even a few years ago. It was
It's very unlikely that compelled arbitration would have even worked in the first place, which would have been yet another slap in the face.
Speaking of the third thing, this article doesn't mention any of the third thing specifically, but it does mention that they were talking about the sign up for the website and in the app he signed up for. So that might be the third thing you're referring to.
Yeah, because it was in the app, and in the app was a slightly better argument because it was like on behalf, if in regards to anything that happens in the park, anything for you or the people you're buying tickets for should go to arbitration. But it wasn't in the park, right? Like the
other fun thing about contract law and these kind of like terms of service and shit like that is that most courts, worth their salt, understand that there's also a reasonability. Like there's an unspoken reasonability clause that goes in the contracts. Just because you tell someone, just because you have it in your TOS, which is unreasonable in and of itself. It's like a 65-page TOS that you expect. It is unreasonable to expect any average consumer to actually sit down and read through that whole TOS before they agree. This is something we learned in our law classes, that, most TOSs actually are not legally binding because they're completely it is so unreasonable to expect any lay person to sit and read and not only read, but properly understand and interpret the legal intent of a TOS document, to the point that if anyone brought up something against a TOS, it bring a big enough like class action lawsuit, it will most likely go to the plaintiffs because they're so unreasonable in the way that they're written. But like, even on that, it's so crazy to find it reasonable that someone would sign away the life and limb because of this TOS. Even if it was contractually obligating, that alone would completely like dismiss the TOS, because it's not reasonable to believe that me signing up for Disney Plus or buying tickets for the park would mean risking life and limb. Especially in a situation in which we have done everything in our power to avoid loss of life.
Or in their situation, things like gross negligence, you can't waive that.
You can't waive gross negligence.
Even they put that in the contract to scare you, but like if they do that, they're fucked.
Your Honor, we are perfectly within our right to have assassinated the plaintiff because they signed up for Disney Plus,
right?
Well, and also to be clear, like arbitration isn't total freedom from consequences. It just means that you're
not doing it in court.
Solve your dispute outside of court.
It's the I can't remember. Can't the arbitration be like by somebody from within Disney is the arbiter, or does it have to be a third party?
That I'm not certain of.
That I'm not certain of. Oftentimes, from what I understand of arbitration, from everybody I've heard talk about it, which is a professor at GRCC and some lawyers on YouTube,
right?
Is that most 99% of the time you're with a retired lawyer or retired judge, who is acting as an independent third party. Whether or not Disney could, I wouldn't put it past them, but I haven't heard that.
I could absolutely see them having their own like legal arbitration department.
Yeah.
Which, like, just give the man a couple million.
Yeah, right.
That's all you had to do.
Like
pocket change for them.
Headline.
Not even pocket change. Like, that's the fucking penny. That's the penny you lose in between the couch cushions.
Not even a penny. That's the lint in their belly button
right.
that they pull out. And it's like, oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
well, I feel like it's my understanding that a lot of times the purpose of this arbitration isn't necessarily even to get freedom from financial consequences. It's freedom from the
bad
public
PR
eye.
press.
Bad PR, bad press.
Like,
which
hey. Really Streisanded the fuck out of that one.
Real worked out well for y'all this time around, didn't it?
I mean, for me though, with this story, if anything, even if it would not have held up if it went all the way through or whatever, and they would have, not worked. It just kind of reframes, has me rethink about terms of service, those contract, or like, do you agree? And then you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then you hit check and then continue for like anything. Right. Like software you download, websites you visit, whatever that you just don't think twice about.
Yeah.
It makes me rethink about, okay, what actually
are you signing
in
for
that shit? Because if it's shit like this, where a company can be like, oh yeah, because you signed up for this 5 years ago,
right?
And you did this thing over in, I don't know, half the other way around the world,
right?
You can't sue us because it was in the contract.
You can't sue us in court, is what they're saying.
Yeah, but like even still, regardless,
right?
It's like shit. Like, do we need to start having to read through this now? Like, I don't know.
We own.
Well, here's the thing. Sorry, what were you saying?
Nothing.
No, you're on the spot now. What are you saying?
I said it. Nobody heard. I said, and we own your left kidney.
Oh,
yeah. Like I didn't know I had to give up my left. I didn't know.
Fun fact. I forget how long ago this was, but it was Apple used to put in their like Apple Terms of Services clause, I think for iTunes, that you are selling your soul to the company by signing up for iTunes. And that
was text?
Like text in the TOS that you sign all rights to your soul away to the company. They claimed they were doing it as a joke. That it was put in as essentially as a joke.
Okay.
I don't know many legal experts that are willing to put the few legal experts I've come across like in jobs and shit and have had a chance to like talk to are so fucking like tight ass about not fucking this shit up that I find it interesting that it even got into the TOS, whether like real or not. But it is that was a thing that happened and Apple got into some level of trouble for.
That's when people see it in the real early days.
Yeah.
Well, like even because those things are usually just used as a reference document for understanding like things after the fact, right? Because even if you read the thing, even if you understood the thing, and even if you then disagreed with it, your choice is
not use it at all.
Not use it at all,
or just accept it.
Accept the full thing. It's not you're not at a negotiating seat with this company, right? You're not signing up for. You're not talking to the company about your job where you can talk like your wiggle thing. No, you are either signing your soul away, or you can't watch Moana.
Yeah.
I want to fucking watch Moana.
Oh, you can watch Moana.
I mean, I think that it's just it highlights how arbitrary and overreaching a lot of these agreements are.
You may not be able to use their service, but you can watch Moana.
Moana at home.
You buy the DVD.
Wait,
you go on eBay, you get the DVD.
Oh my God.
I don't know if that laugh was piracy laugh or porn laugh.
Why not both?
Fair enough.
What?
He was just doing. I don't know.
I mean, it was meant to be piracy laugh.
Okay,
but it fits.
It fits, doesn't it? But yeah.
But no,
sorry. Go for it.
I was gonna say. I would just think back to like our things that we got from Main Event,
right?
Where it's like they advertised.
Shout out to Main Event again.
Shout out to Main Event. Great place, cool people.
Very fun.
Like they
will give you $1 million if you die there. For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can legally co-sign that, but yeah.
No, you can't. We have no clue.
Yeah.
But like these passes that they gave up for like the prizes of like that, scavenger hunt. It's like, oh, you get a whole year of, Main Event. And it's like, oh, wow, that the whole year. That's great.
That's awesome.
And then you look at the fine print, like the really small text on the pass. And it's you can only redeem this once a week.
And
for 52 weeks. And it's like, okay, but it's like 1 hour a week for 52 weeks. It's like, okay. It's not as grandiose as you thought it was.
It's not as grand as the term unlimited.
Just enough that you can put that on there.
Yes. Yeah. Like that's absolutely how a lot of these like contract, like it's why people say you have to read the fine print. Gotta read the fine print because holy shit. And
here's the other thing, though. Most people aren't even going to take advantage of it for 1 hour every week.
Exactly, right? Like that's what me and him we were saying when we went to the grand opening event and got some laser tag things. We were like, honestly, one game of laser tag a week is enough. We might not even use that to that degree, right? But it is just very interesting, that wording of like unlimited laser tag for a year. And it's like, well, I wonder if there's. Well, I don't think it said unlimited. Actually, it says laser tag for a year.
I wonder if there's fine print on the drink one too, the $42 drink thing.
That one, I don't think so, because that one is not one of the free giveaway things that you are buying 3 hours of.
Is it 3 hours?
3 hours, yes.
Right? So that one, we're still going to look at the fine print to make sure.
We will. That one I can see because there's an actual monetary value to it, right? You're actually buying that one. This is the free shit that we're giving.
That might also be a loss leader for them.
You think so?
I mean, look, I don't know about you guys. All right.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do.
But I could actually. You know, I don't know what the overhead is on alcohol, so I'm not going to say that about myself alone. But me and a couple, maybe like 2, 3, 4 of my friends who can put it away, we can make them lose money.
That's fair. Because even when we found out about it, it was like $42 for 3 hours unlimited alcohol. That you can drink a lot.
At the very least, it's going to be cheaper.
It's going to be
than
way
going
cheaper than
to the
normal
store, which is what I normally compare. To.
You can spend $42 on like 3 drinks. And that will last you maybe 45 minutes. It's like, so.
I could spend $42 on a bottle of tequila.
Right.
And it's going to be good. I can make myself 16 margaritas. Or I can drink 16 margaritas.
in 3 hours.
In 3 hours.
Right.
Well, and especially if you split that across like multiple people, you're saving moolah.
Does it split with?
No, it's per person. So it's $42 per person.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I don't know how much they're gonna be.
Are they gonna
monitoring who's drinking? But it is meaning like.
I mean, who? I'm gonna make them. We're gonna game the system.
Yeah, we're gonna game this system. Main event.
I'm gonna get kicked out.
Yeah, I mean,
your capitalism won't work on us. You thought.
I mean, that's the whole fucking point of shit like this. Is you think that their capitalism isn't working on you, but it is.
Oh, it absolutely is. The fact that you're in the building means the capitalism is working, and that's the whole point.
The fact that you're talking about it,
right? Like the fact that we're sitting here talking about it and giving like fucking publicity to main event is crazy.
Every time I sip my cup,
it's a solid 5 out of 10.
We can bump that number up if you sponsor us. Anywho, but yeah, so Disney, at this point, just go on and put the devil horns and hold the pitchfork up. Like at this point, just do it.
Stop denying what you are.
Quit denying what you are, because you clearly are. You're just the devil. The chairman, I want to read this fucking statement because it's the most PR fucking, like, you have to put this out and say this, but it is the most like PR ass email to go out. Where is it? So he waives it as a fatal allergic reaction for eating at a restaurant in Disney Springs. Here it is. At Disney, we strive to put humanity above all other considerations, Damaro said. With such unique circumstances as the ones in this case, we believe this situation warrants a sensitive approach to expedite a resolution for the family who have experienced such a painful loss.
You signed our TOS.
That first sentence just kills me, though.
We strive to put humanity above all other considerations. Sure, Disney. That's not the fucking lifelong fight you've been having.
No. If there isn't a more evil way to start a set to make you seem like you're trying to be as human-like as possible and not evil / demon-esque,
is to start it off with
we strive to
at
love situations,
joy, companionship, values that Meat Grinder Industries strives to uphold.
We strive to be as humanistic as possible.
Humanistic as possible
in our treatment of our enslaved animals.
Like, it absolutely sounds like It's
if I was an
such
evil
PR
villain
speak.
from a different planet and I was trying to promote myself to the human race, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
If I was an alien trying to trick humans into thinking I was chill, I put humanity over all other considerations.
We put the humanity and the human needs of other humans above all other considerations.
If the United States Postal Service wishes you a lucky day at the end of their email, it's probably not the United States Postal Service.
Have a lucky day. You say that. Oh, shit. My phone is right there and I can't look at it right now. I keep getting these fucking scam texts from the USPS.
Yeah.
And
Your package is stuck too?
yeah, my package has been stuck for a long time.
One today. Wait a minute.
The one specific the reason I brought it up is because this one is the first time I heard we hope you have a perfect day. Or we hope your day is perfect or some shit like that. And it's like that's a new one.
Oh my gosh, where is it?
Oh my god, I do hope you can find it.
Yeah, automated messages like that usually don't have anything like pleasant. It's just like, here's the info.
I also just, in my experience, the USPS won't tell me shit about your package.
Yeah, no, here it is. The USPS package has arrived at the warehouse and cannot be delivered due to incomplete address information. Please confirm your address in the link with 12 hours. The funny thing is with these messages, always, they post the link, but it's not clickable.
It's not clickable, and the link is always different.
Yes. And then it says, please provide why or whatever. And at the very end, it says, the U.S. Postal Team wishes you a wonderful day.
Yours says wonderful?
They've
Mine said a perfect day.
They've
You
upgraded.
get perfect.
It worked.
Mine said lucky.
Oh my god, they're utilizing ChatGPT to switch it up and make it seem more personal.
Gotta be.
Oh my god, what do you say, Fluff?
Oh no, I was just enjoying Kenton dying.
Yeah, if y'all don't know how to recognize scams, generally speaking, the U.S. Postal Service will never contact you. They will just let that shit go to the ether.
They'll put a thing on your door, and then you'll show up in 3 months, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah,
yeah."
They'll show."
The thing is, I wouldn't say they almost got me because I didn't even, but they got me to actually look at the message because I am expecting a few things.
Which is why the scam works, is because it's like people get shits delivered all the time. Mm-hmm. Not usually through USPS, but not with the advent of
I'm waiting on the USPS package right now.
Right.
And if I got a text, I'd be like, oh shit.
Right. It's not the craziest thing, but that's how a lot of more successful scams work. Luckily, with my phone, it auto gets filtered out into the spam. I see a notification for the spam thing, and then I like to read them just to see What
do you think happens if you open the link? Is that the attack, or do you think you have to fill in information?
No, generally
probably phishing.
It's still phishing. But I don't think you're going to get any malicious, if you can even get to it, they're probably already flagged by every antivirus in the fucking world. But even if you get to it, usually what they're doing is if they can even get you to the website, if they're going to get you to give up personal information more than they're going to install viruses or some bullshit.
Yeah. I know some Discord ones. You click the link and it takes you to a Discord login or something. Yeah. And it's okay, well, if you put in your Discord login there.
Now they're more looking to get info out of you than installing stuff that's going to creep in and siphon all your info out or anything like that. So yeah, don't click on suspicious links.
You got to be careful about pig butchering scams.
I've heard about that.
Those things are intense.
You heard what I heard, right?
Pig butchering?
Yeah.
What is this one?
Wait, you guys don't know what this is?
I don't know about the pig butchering one.
Okay, so pig butchering makes it sound a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the way you said it, it made me think of someone's pulling the parcel scam, but specifically for the pig butchering community.
No,
and it's no. I don't think I come close enough to pig butchering for that to ever wind up in my
You're
inbox.
Probably actually very familiar with this kind of scam.
Oh,
okay. It just didn't really have
it is a type
name.
Of scam. Okay,
yeah. In particular, this type of scam is
Is it the one where they try to pull you in by supporting a cause that they assume that you will be?
No.
Okay, never mind. I have no idea then.
That's the Democratic Party.
Oh shit!
Bruh.
He said it. He said it. The sad part is he's not wrong.
I was just say, is he wrong though?
Nope.
I'm just mad about the number of texts I get from Kamala Harris.
They've started going into my spam folder as well.
It's interesting because I get texts from Kamala, but mail from Trump. Like,
They know who their audiences are.
But yeah, no, pig butchery scams are when the individual in question basically entices you into a relationship, right?
Oh, okay. I do know what this is.
yeah.
Wait, so this is why Cindy wants to be my friend on Facebook.
Yes, this is why.
This is basically what the Nigerian prince scam like evolved into.
It is, but it's way more advanced and way more insidious than that.
Oh.
Because people will like literally the ROI
Yeah.
can be a year out for some of
Yeah.
these. You can talk to somebody for an entire year before they say anything.
The most common ones I've heard of, so I do, like I said, I do know what this is. I've never heard that name put to it. The most common ones are usually, I'm a military veteran or I'm a military like personnel, and I'm reaching out because I want love, and you seem like a perfect like match for me, and they'll start up correspondence that will last for fucking ever, and they will literally build a whole ass relationship over the course of like you said, like a year.
Yeah. You'll see that. I was listening to.
Wait, but what do they do after that?
Oh, they gain your trust and they start asking you for money, and then they start asking for increasingly
Because
greater
you've
amounts.
been their companion for that long.
Because-
it's like, they must.
Yeah.
Last
not
week
be-
tonight did an expose on this.
That's what I saw.
That is probably what I saw then.
I listened to a podcast about one of these. There's actually the most impersonated woman in the world is a woman by the name, or she used to go by the name of Janessa Brazil. That was her performer name when she was in adult entertainment.
I was going to say that sounds like a porn actress name.
But her image is out there so much that she's been picked up by so many different scammers.
Which is crazy in the world where we exist, in which there is Google reverse image search. But
yeah, well,
the targets of these scams are very rarely the tech savvy.
That's the thing. Like, you can do this. You can reverse image search this woman. You can find out that she's an adult entertainer. You can find out it's probably a scam. But then the person on the other end of the line isn't asking for money. They're
Right.
just having a conversation with you. You're getting something out of it too because you're getting validation from it. Somewhere down the line, they need $5. They need $35. They need
$1 million.
Well, the next thing you know, that in order to live you're 5 years in, and in order to live the life that you wanted together, you've spent your life savings on it.
Yeah.
And you get to see anything from it, and you're like, some of these people, like, I could totally see how that happened to them.
Oh,
right.
Because generally the main targets for these kind of scams are like generally older, generally not tech savvy, usually well established in a career, or pensioners or retirees.
Do you say that? Not really.
Really?
It's across the board.
Really?
Especially during the pandemic when there wasn't as much human contact.
I lied. So just lonely motherfuckers.
Yeah, just lonely motherfuckers. I learned
parasocial.
about a woman who was a very, very young, very tech savvy. The pig butcher scammers, because they'll come in different forms as well. Like, there are Chinese in the pandemic times, Chinese gangs who couldn't make money by selling drugs anymore because nobody's going out or doing anything, started kidnapping people, taking them across the border and making them do these scams. They set up an app that looks like a legitimate investing app.
Did you say connecting or kidnapping?
Kidnapping.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so they would kidnap you, they'd put you in a warehouse, and then they would make you
forced to have an online
you would
relationship
just
with
be forced to have online relations with people,
or
and
else
with the goal of eventually
Are you going to tell the triad no?
Yeah. And then you go on the App Store and you download an app. It looks legit. You put your money into the app. Your investment into this crypto Bitcoin is going up. It's doing really well. You're like, oh, awesome. You get your dad in on it. Meanwhile, you're having a good relationship with this one person, and then one day it's just gone.
So MLMs and catfishing have just made a baby. Is what we're
pretty
doing
much.
here.
It's pretty fucking much.
Fantastic.
It's real bad.
Fantastic.
Don't
Be
give-
very careful out there, folks.
Don't give money to people you haven't met in
If
person.
you have not met them in person, even then,
Honestly,
sometimes like be very smart with the money you're giving out.
Yeah.
Is the most way to say.
Imagine when they stop having to kidnap people and they can just
Split
use
everything
AI.
50-50 with your wife. Sorry,
Yeah, it is still a dangerous landscape, and unfortunately, governments are still figuring out how to deal with these kind of cyber crimes. Yeah. There's not even a lot of resolution on this stuff, other than like, I like to watch. Every once in a while, I'll get on the kick of watching Kid Boga. He is a scam baiter.
Mm-hmm.
He is probably the biggest scam baiter out there. He's a huge audience of following, to the point that they are now using like AI voice modulators and AI like video stuff to fake what they look like on call and shit. And that like literally most of their job is just like trying to catch these scammers and stop them, because there really isn't a lot of legal recourse, because a lot of these scams are happening from across the seas with hard to trace operations that the legal recourse, there's not much to do to recover money lost. The most they can really do right now is just catch these guys and hope to stop them from scamming any future people. Mm-hmm. At least I've not heard of a lot of like resolutions with banks and stuff that will catch this stuff and like stop it. The few safeguards that are usually in place is that banks will stop you from transferring. Like they'll flag like suspiciously large amounts of like transference of money. But like, because generally, once again, these are people that, I mean, I did not realize it was across the board the way that it was, but it's still people that are not moving. Like these are not corporations. These are not millionaires. These are not business moguls and shit that are used to moving across hundreds of thousands, like tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. So that's like the one safeguard most people have, but sometimes that fails more than you like to hear, especially as like scammers have gotten very smart to the amount that they'll generally ask for is usually just below the threshold of what will trigger. So like they'll ask for like $500 in like gift cards or some shit, or they'll ask for, I think like the most I've ever seen anyone ask for specifically was like in like seriousness, in which the baiter did not convince them to keep stepping this amount up, was never more than like $2,000. Like that's as much as they'll have you do, because that's just slightly below the threshold in which a bank will find that suspicious. But point is, be very careful about your online interactions. You do not let yourself be so lonely that people can trick you like this. And there's so many of these scams. Like the pig butchering is just one facet of how a lot of these scams work. To be very like, guard yourself and be a lot more wary about your online interactions. If you have not even met this person face to face, I don't want to promote distrustfulness, but at the end of the day, if you've not even like even video calls and phone calls can be like faked enough for like a layperson to be fooled by it. Mm-hmm. If you've not met this person, do not start sending them money or signing up for stuff they ask you to sign up for, like by their own admission.
There's a certain level of trust that is, I wouldn't say expected, but like obvious that you only give when a certain, threshold is
right.
Right.
Like I understand that long distance relationship, and especially the advent of online dating, has definitely created, it is easier to form connections across distances than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And we know people who are in full committed relationships with people that they were in good relationships before they even had a chance to meet this person, because they're like half a country away from each other. Yeah. And like, I'm not here to discourage that, but you have to be very smart. And it's really just recognizing that, like we sat here and talked about it, recognize how a lot of these scams work and educate yourself on the different scams going around. There's active communities that are constantly monitoring and learning about the new hot active scams. Yeah. Every once in a while, you'll get, like, I got a notice from my job email from our HR department that was alerting us to some AT&T scam was going on or something like that. So yeah, just keep educated,
diligent.
Stay diligent. Keep up to breast of like what's going on and how a lot of these scams are working, and please keep yourself safe out there, because that is one of those ones that every time it comes across, like, it is heartbreaking how scammers will take advantage of either people's loneliness or their like technical illiteracy to just absolutely like and devastate. Like, this is different than like usual,
and they're getting more sophisticated, and they're getting better at not tripping those scam flags.
Yeah,
that they're getting better at not tripping you up with a situation that seems too good to be true. At not just directly being like, "Give me money,"
right?
At not like, yeah.
This is different than your Tinder date tricking you into a free meal. This is the stuff that can actually ruin people's lives in a way.
Well, it's called pig butchering because they fatten you up.
Yeah,
they butcher you.
Literally. So, who would have thought that we would have talked about scammers off a conversation about Disney being the devil?
Actually, no, that makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of fucking sense, doesn't it?
The parallels are
I said it facetiously. All right, let's take a break. I need to grab some water. All right, ADHD stemming is over. We can go back to the episode now.
No.
Yep. All right.
Don't worry, we'll be doing a lot of stemming still within the episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This motherfucker does not stop that leg, and my leg does not stop swinging ever in these fucking videos. I have become so aware of how often I swing and bounce my legs while we do shit.
I've become too tired to stem.
Hell yeah. Using exercise to fix ADHD.
No. To mask. Let's be clear.
Masking ADHD using extreme exhaustion. So we
I start
Bluey
stemming immediately.
Right. This fucking, at least your stemming is off camera. Yeah, I guess they can see it in your thighs. But so this Bluey clip, right?
I don't watch Bluey. So, but like I see clips.
You should, because you would probably enjoy it.
I figured I would.
Bluey is a very enjoyable show.
I see clips of Bluey all the time. And I decided to join this one group just because I enjoyed seeing these out of context clips so much. So, like, I don't know exactly what all the context is around this moment. We mentioned during the break that maybe, he had promised Bluey, the dad had promised Bluey something specific before they went to walk to the park or whatever, and he's not following up with that promise.
Given what I know of Bluey that I've seen, I can almost guarantee you the setup leading up to this was, I forget his name, Bandit. Bandit promised Bluey and the sister that he'll take him to the park, to the jungle gym. And the entire way there, he's gotten distracted and stopped to talk to other like adults and parents and shit. And it's hitting a point. It looks like this scene is supposed to be late evening. And it's hitting a point where Bluey has recognized that if they don't get there, they'll lose time and they won't have time to get there. But yeah, that's my best guess as to what's going on here.
Yeah. And, I didn't think about that when I, watched this and then posted it. So that's a good perspective to think about it in, because in that scenario, then yeah, maybe there's, Bandit probably should be like, all right, I've been out here we've been walking to the park for hours.
Right.
So maybe I should
let them get to the park, like I have promised them to do.
Right. But if this is a scenario where he maybe stopped once or twice and they just left and Bluey's just getting impatient.
Right.
It's an interest. It's a fun kind of, way that the interaction is funny.
Yeah.
But there's something there where it's admirable, where it's like, okay, he handled that really well.
Right.
If the scenario is what this little clip presents itself as, right? So I don't know. I just thought that this was an interesting. I don't think about, Bluey a lot, but when it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, this exists, and I'm like, oh, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just another fun Bluey clip that I saw that I thought would be fun to kind of talk about a little bit and share.
What'd you say?
I'm reading the recap.
Oh, okay. Of this episode?
Yes.
Of course you are. If you've never heard this, Bluey gets talked about a lot. Like, as a matter of fact, Foot of a Ferret, the animator on YouTube who does a lot of stuff like that, he's talked about Bluey.
I looked up a few of his videos on Bluey. Yep.
Bluey is described as a children's show for parents because of how like well it depicts the parent-child relationship. Like, Bluey is like the Anti-Caillou.
That is a
Bluey
good way to
is
put it,
absolutely
actually,
the antithesis to Caillou of showing children and adults in much more authentic ways that do not come off as hyper sanitized, and still being able to get across the main like moral of the story that isn't just about children must listen to their parents at all times because that's the only way to stay safe. It will present its moral as parents have an obligation to keep their children safe, and that's generally what they're always trying to do. But there's ways to put that lesson across. There's ways to keep your children safe that still humanizes the child. Like, that's the kind of way that they'll present their lessons and shit.
Yeah.
There's a reason this show has gotten so much praise across like every board.
I gave up reading the entire recap because I wanted to participate in the conversation.
I was trying to give you time to do it, but okay.
I appreciate that. That is very kind of you. From what I gathered, it seems like it's actually a mutual conflict, which I think is even better way of presenting it, because there's no clear protagonist or antagonist to the situation. It's just Bluey's the little one, right?
Yeah, Bluey's the big one. Bluey's this one.
Yeah, Bluey kind of being a dick because he wants to get to the monkey bars, and Dad kind of being a dick because he wants to talk to his friends.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So it's a little bit of both.
Fair enough.
A little bit of both.
From the ferret videos that I've watched, and from what I've learned about Bluey, just from its conception and me hearing about it, they pretty much have this kind of conflict. Depending on where you look at it,
right?
Everybody's being a dick. Yeah. In almost every episode, which is real. It's
real. That's kind of how parenting goes.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm like,
it says a non-parent, but
well, yeah,
I've helped raise some children before, but I'm not a parent myself.
Yeah, I think it's like from the perspectives, even if you aren't a parent or even if you aren't a kid anymore, you can still see from that perspective how it could go this way or how they could think that or whatnot. And I think it's really, really cool. And you don't really get that many forms of media that kind of show those different perspectives in a way that doesn't, totally demonize the other side. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So in that way, I've just continuously grown to really enjoy these clips of Bluey. And I've always been saying, it's like, yeah, I'll probably watch it. And then it's just slowly being like, okay, yeah, I gotta watch it. Like, it looks good.
It's okay. When you pop a baby out your pussy, you put it on all the time.
Yeah.
As shows go, I'd rather this be on 24/7 than most other dribble.
I was really... So one of the podcasts I listened to, Hey Riddle Riddle, was they reviewed an episode of Blue's Clues the other day.
Like original or current? Like, what's going on with Blue's Clues now?
It was one with Joe, I think.
Okay, that was the...
They picked one of the... It was definitely... It was after Steve left, but before it got canceled the first time.
But before Asian Steve.
Yeah.
Sick. Asian Steve. Because it is. There was like... I think the current Steve is Asian. Is an Asian dude now.
Well, it was a guy named Damien, and they renamed him to something much simpler and easier to pronounce. But
also, before you continue, I just want to put this fucking thing to rest, and I don't know why it keeps getting put out there. The actress who played Luna the Clown, Allison Court, did not marry Steve from Blue's Clues. I don't know.
I wish they did, but that
would have been awesome for the fucking lore, but that's not true.
It just is.
For anyone who needs to know that,
I have not heard or seen that.
Steve is bald. He's not married to anybody.
Actually, I don't think so. He's still out there being awesome, though.
No, I think he has a partner.
Probably.
But Luna hasn't got married to somebody else.
No, she is married. She is Allison Court is married to someone that is not.
Fuck you.
Continue with your Blue's Clues thing.
But yeah, so they have one of the Patreon tiers is Review Q, where every month they review something. So of course, and it's a community poll, so we curse them every time.
Of course.
But this time they reviewed an episode of Blue's Clues, and I was surprised one of them recently had a child, and I was surprised to see the reaction that he had to the episode. Not necessarily just as somebody who would watch it, but as a parent. He was like, I wouldn't want my kid watching this inane bullshit.
Really?
And I was like, huh, interesting. Like, cool, because like I think that his perspective is probably a little bit extreme, but the
it's gonna be hard for me because Blue's Clues was like my favorite child show.
well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I've never critically evaluated actual child television as a parent from the perspective of childhood development, right? The closest I've come to is hearing about Bluey secondhand, right? But most of the time, if you really think about it, a lot of shit like Paw Patrol, or a lot of other shit just kind of gets kicked on because your kid likes it and sucks them in.
It keeps them fucking entertained and distracted while you try to do some of the chores you've been meaning to get to.
Yeah, but whether or not it's actually good for your kid or something that your kid should be watching,
right,
is a whole other question. And for something as inane and innocent as Blue's Clues,
right,
I would have
I'm
never.
very curious what his perspective, like what was it about it that
I
kind of threw him. If you don't remember, this is really me just putting it out there that I want to hear this later.
Well, I would happily play it for you later, but I don't remember a lot of specifics about what he did it. I was more taken by how strongly he reacted.
He felt about it. Okay.
He felt about it. Because I don't actually remember if he mentioned much specifics. It may have just been that it was kind of like an hour and a half of like nothing really happening.
Oh, that's a weird. Okay, that like
But
I would rather an hour and a half of nothing really happening than some of the other shit you could get.
Pregnant Spider-Man and Elsa,
right? Or Caillou.
I don't remember anything about Caillou, but I do remember that I at least passively enjoyed it as a child.
I think it's easy to enjoy as a child. Definitely my views of Caillou have changed through like looking back through an adult lens, as well as an internet lens of Caillou, because Caillou is a whiny little bastard.
Can we get some clips? Is there like a clip?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll find them.
Not something I want to do during the episode right now, but we will absolutely sit down and watch some clips of Caillou.
Right.
It is when you watch Caillou, when I say Bluey is the antithesis to Caillou and its showing of a parent-child relationship, I mean it. Not that like, obviously not that like Caillou's parents are fucking abusive or anything. Like they're not depicting abuse, but they're depicting a parenting style that is basically what my child says goes.
Oh, really?
Okay.
More or less.
I don't remember it.
Like this is from watching like clips of it. It is very much I don't know. It does not give a lot of great, even from the perspective of teaching kids moral lessons. Kind of the lessons you take away from Caillou is that the tantrums will get you whatever you want.
Oh, that's why my sister's the way she is.
Maybe we'll watch some clips later. Caillou is definitely like not great.
Dragon Tales,
fucking love me some Dragon Tales.
Oh, that whole era.
Dragon Tales, Between the Lions.
PBS, dude.
PBS was such a fantastic. I would really suck if I were to go back and watch PBS shows and realize that they were terrible for kids.
Yeah.
Cyberspace.
I love cyberspace.
Catching Hacker and his gang.
Anyone remember that one like game / sketch show?
Yes, Fetch with Ruff Ruffman.
Wait, what?
Try that one more time.
Fetch with Ruffman.
No, not that one.
Damn.
No, I was thinking Zoom. That's what it is. I couldn't think of the name.
Y'all
of it.
missing out on peak PBS. Fetch with Ruff Ruffman was the shit.
I remember Ruff Ruffman.
Fetch with Ruff. I don't remember that
good.
one.
Yeah.
Fetch with Ruff Ruffman was great.
Jake the dog before Jake the dog.
I don't know who the fuck Jake the dog is, but Fetch was
I don't actually remember what he looks like, but I feel like
He
he
was
looks
an
like
orange
Jake
dog.
the dog.
Oh.
I didn't watch this, but I do remember it.
shit was so fun. There was like a doghouse. It's where I first learned about triangles and how strong they are.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, no, they like realistic and solvable things. The kids always performed really well. It was really fun. These really great little animated clips where this like wacky Ruff Ruffman would do stuff. I really enjoyed the show.
Nice. I think I might have just aged out of it about the time it was coming around because I
Like
think
I only had PBS, so this was peak. This was like
same.
as good as it got.
Oh, same.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. That's what my childhood consisted of, largely was PBS.
And then they canceled this and put on fucking Word Girl.
I remember Word Girl.
I don't have any knowledge about that.
I remember Word Girl, but it was very much from the, we didn't have anything else to watch, and I wanted to watch something that wasn't the news.
And I was a little old for Word Girl when it started coming out, but my sisters were still watching it.
I'm trying to remember.
And it was fine.
Because what's really weird is...
So they also started coming out with official Curious George, which was also fine.
Was that
that
PBS?
was okay. Yeah. I remember original Curious George was PBS.
Because I watched a little bit of that.
Original Curious. It could have been Disney, actually.
Well, if it was Disney, they licensed it to PBS.
It's very possible. I think it was original PBS. Same as Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Clifford,
Get on
yeah.
PBS.
Clifford was. I enjoyed Clifford when I was a child.
Yeah.
Between the Lines was amazing. Zoom was awesome.
Comfy Couch was a little early for me, but it was when it was on. It was so good.
Comfy Couch was so amazing. I still. I remember seeing a TikTok recently and someone described it. He was doing
Was it where they were describing their ideal woman? It was
No, it wasn't that one. That would be me. No, I gotta stop making that joke. I remember the Lunette was supposed to be like a 6-year-old or some shit. That sounds real weird.
6-year-old can't move their legs around the clock. All right, they can't go.
Honestly, if you put the population of humanity that could do that, I would assume most 6-year-olds probably be able to do that better than most. Anyway, point being is
just because it's true, just let me have it. Okay.
It was it was something about like POV of when someone asks how you learned how to read a clock, and the dude was describing how
clock when you were a kid.
there was a little clown girl named Lunette.
She used to bust it wide open on that little copper
Used to
clock.
bust it wide open.
Oh my!
I gotta find that. It's pretty recent. I think I just sent this to y'all maybe a couple days ago.
Probably. I try to keep up with it, but I can't.
I know. I'm gonna find this.
Learn to tell time, Dad.
Well, there was this little clown girl named Lunette.
Used to bust it.
Wide open. Oh man, that was a cackling on the toilet moment. Holy shit. Oh man, yeah, kids shows used to be, and I'm sure I don't know if there's any other good ones. I know they're rehashing a lot of old stuff. Like there's now, it was like they brought back Blue's Clues, and now it's like a full animated show. I think
Zaboomafoo had a reboot in the Crap Brothers.
I remember that. I do remember that. Did you know that the original Zaboomafoo's granddaughter passed away?
Yeah, I saw
recently.
Did we talk about it?
I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast. We might have talked about it in
I
person.
think we talked about it.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about it.
We definitely did. I remember like my favorite era of Disney was kid show Disney because like Roly Poly Oly,
Yeah.
Madeline, PB&J Otter was my shit.
What?
Did you never see PB&J Otter?
Oh, maybe
my
I have.
God.
I just don't. It's not triggering anything. My nostalgia isn't popping off at that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've seen
remember
images of
these.
this, but
I
I've
remember
never watched
these.
this show. Yeah.
PB&J Otter was my shit, and I don't know why. I look back at this and I'm like, compared to all the other things that really captured like child Ruben's attention, I don't know why PB&J Otter did, but it did, and I loved PB&J Otter so much.
You know what? I'm thinking on this right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Roly Poly Oly, dude.
He's small and short and round.
That could be the very beginning of my love for 3D. At the very,
You know what? Yeah,
like
Like-
moment.
the pinpoint moment of when could very much be
Because like
could very
that
well be.
show was all 3D animated.
Yeah. Like this, why did I never make a Roly Poly Oly scene for school? All the chances I had to like recreate Roly Poly Oly in school, and I never did. I never thought to do so.
I never did either.
Damn.
Just now,
know
I'm
how,
making
like,
the connection.
You
I'm
were
like,
not
holy shit.
fostering your inner child.
Super wasn't. I was trying to still be cool and edgy.
But that makes a
With your
lot
DBZ
of sense.
abridged, horny jokes,
yeah, that's DBZ
Making
abridged.
friends with trans people.
Expanding my worldview. The fuck was I doing in college?
How dare you?
Absolutely terrible. Yeah, no, Roly Poly Oly, PB&J Otter, Madeline, Maggie and the Beast.
Maggie
On
and the
Nick
Beast.
Jr..
I remember that.
That used to come on like after. It's not on here right now, but that used to come on after Blue's Clues.
That polka dotted
Yep, that polka dotted
animal.
motherfucker.
Did we? What? Just
Could he
the
remove
beast?
his spots? Like, was that a thing he could just do? He like lost his spots one day.
Yeah,
In an episode.
that was an episode.
I don't know why I remember that.
Well, it's because his spots were part of a congenital disease.
Probably.
Mm.
He had the mumps.
I always thought that they were just like little pepperonis on him.
They basically were. It was-
After that episode, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah, okay.
You
Yeah.
could just
Talking
eat
about my
those.
nipples.
Maybe.
Maybe."
We'll save it for the OnlyFans. There was another one I was just thinking of.
He said he had no nipples.
Oh no, there was another. There's two specific episodes I remember. Is the one where he loses his spots, and the one with what was it, pumpkin bread? It was like either pumpkin pie or pumpkin bread. I'm fairly certain it was pumpkin bread, and he was super in love with pumpkin bread. And I don't know why that's all I remember, but I remember loving that show.
But banana bread, it fucking work.
Oh,
I want to memorize that entire monologue. I'm never going to, but
you're never going to, but you could try. You could try. All right, so from nostalgic kid shows to modern day American Social Security woes. Yeah, I heard SSNs might have got hacked, and
Everybody knows.
everybody knows it's
There's like 5 other people now with my identification going around.
right. I'll say the same thing I said to my coworker when he first brought this up to me.
Mm.
The only thing they can do is still debt for me right now.
Well, they can put more debt on you.
They could, which really wouldn't change the status quo that I'm dealing with already.
How do you prevent that? Like you,
You can freeze accounts and shit.
but like, how do you keep somebody from opening a credit card in your name or whatever? Do you get alerts?
they
for
got
that?
your SSN.
you can get a new SSN.
Yeah, basically get a new one.
What is that process like?
Well, I think you just
Uh,
pay them some amount of money to the government, send in a form.
Yeah, birth certificate, a certain amount of information proving that it's you. There is a way to get one without that in a certain set of circumstances, but it's pretty hard to do.
It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about that leak, it's like pretty much you made the same point that I did. It's like, ain't nobody gonna really.
They can have it. Like at this point,
Now, I would feel a little bit different if, as like a celebrity or just somebody.
oh,
like,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
If I'm somebody with
shit.
something worth losing, which like we'll see if this statement even ages well. Given we're trying to grow a fucking podcast brand here, but if I had something worth losing, I'd be a far more active in like freezing all my accounts and shit. But I was like,
And I think we mentioned something like
Well, in response to that, well, the minute I see my credit score dropping, that's
hilariously, my credit score has done nothing but go up since. So
They're taking care of you.
I guess so.
They're taking care of you.
Honestly, that's my biggest deal with like these fucking hackers. And this, I'm parroting a joke here, but I'm like kind of serious about it too. It's like, if you're going to do anything and you're doing all this shit of hacking into the companies and their databases and shit, wipe my fucking debt out. How about that? Like, it's fucking, if we're going to get in there.
Let's just say you're not even joking.
I'm not joking at all.
Do it.
Like, y'all keep breaking into these motherfuckers, but what is that doing for anybody?
anonymous.
Get on it,
Let's
motherfuckers.
get on it.
Yeah.
We're talking about clearing student loans. I'm certain Nelnet has some vulnerabilities.
Oh, they definitely
Go
fucking
piss
do.
in
There's
there.
no way they don't.
Like, if you're so confident you're not going to get caught,
Man,
and there are no problems. Just do it.
College should be free anyways.
should have always been. They're making strides or steps or
The more I learn
Inch.
about college, no, we don't gotta get into
they
that.
ain't got to get into it right now.
Have you seen that short about the lady talking about how was $70,000 in college debt she's paid
Faithfully.
$110 of her student loan, and she's down to like $60,000 in debt.
Yeah, because it's
Interest.
all right. We're fucking here. Let's talk about it. That is the most upsetting part about the conversation around whether colleges should be free or whether people should have their like it pisses me off to no end how much people are like, why should your debt be forgiven? Like, you should have knew what you were signing up for, or you shouldn't have, if you didn't want to pay back the loan, you shouldn't have took the loan. I was like, well,
But you literally didn't. Like, sorry, I don't mean to.
No, go for it. Go for it.
But like, as a college student, they said, I remember them saying some shit about good debt, and then some people being like, oh, there's no such thing as good debt. And as a high schooler, you're sitting there, well, I don't have butt fuck anything. All right. My dad's a teacher. My mom works as a waitress at Amway.
My dad barely has above. Like, my parents have barely above. Fuck all.
Like, the reason we have a house is because my grandfather was a construction worker, basically. Right. Like, my not to disparage my parents at all. They've always been wonderful. They provided whenever I really want anything, I've been able to access it. The
point being is that to afford a college education, like most people's salaries just weren't it.
Yeah.
Like, the high schooler isn't going to have it. Both parents are just keeping their heads above and making sure that all the kids are fed, let alone getting you into college. Not everyone's going to be able to get a fucking scholarship, because most of the good scholarships are fucking competitive anyway. Like, you're competing against thousands, if not millions, of other like college goers on even getting these scholarships. But the only way, or at least the only way that was sold to us to get a better position, was to go to fucking college. And then there's people that are like, oh, you should go to a trade school. Well, motherfuckers, those cost too.
Those costs too. I mean, I was in a great position to go do something like that. Like, I was in Skills USA. I was looking at the different trades, the impacts that we're having, the job shortages, right? But even with all that information, college still looked like a better option to me.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Well, because also job shortages, they're just companies bitching about.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Anyways, but they don't communicate to you is how our economic system works, how debt works, right? And how getting a student loan is something that will stay with you
for the rest of your life.
I mean, that's what the loan companies are counting on, is that you don't know what's going on.
Well, they're literally tricking you into saddling yourself with debt as soon as possible in your life.
They're asking somebody who cannot drink, has, for the first time in their life, had to sign up for selective services and can be conscripted into war. They're asking somebody who's never even been an adult to make a decision based on something that they don't understand yet. And we do not have the financial literacy at almost any fucking level in any type of school that can prepare you for understanding loan terms, how much you're taking, and how APRs work. Like, so this gets back into what I was saying in response to what you said. My biggest frustration with any of the like student loan forgiveness shouldn't be a thing, like opponents, and they're like, well, you shouldn't have took the loan if you didn't want to pay it back. You know, my problem isn't paying back the loan. My problem is not paying back the loan. If it was just about paying back the loan, that nobody would have an issue with that, because if I'm going to borrow money, I'm going to have to pay it back. Of course. It's the part where those loans come with a fucking 26% APR that they basically keep hidden from you the entire time you're in college to make sure you're not thinking about it, and then hit you with it all at once right at the end.
Do you have anything that high? All of mine were like 4%, I think 4 to 6%.
I'd have to relook at mine. No, 26% is credit card loans.
Yeah, I was good. 24% is credit card loans. It's hyperbolic, but
which in itself is also kind of fucking crazy. But really either way, so in that lady's position, my biggest problem is the rate of interest we have to pay on student loans.
Right.
And at that level of money taken out, that rate of interest is far beyond anything you can pay off comfortably and still be able to live. And so you wind up in this situation of somebody can be paying off their loan diligently
in perpetuity.
Even in the in perpetuity thing, you can have somebody paying off their loan diligently for decades
They could pay $1 million on a $70,000 loan.
Because the way these loans work is they specifically make sure to put all of your money towards the interest first and not the principal.
Yeah.
So they maximize slowing down how much you're paying on the principal so that you're basically almost always paying just as much as you were before. Mm-hmm. So that 110 she was paying every fucking month, maybe 30 of that was going to her principal.
Yeah.
That's generous shit. It might have been close to like $15.
That's why I smashed my loan hard when we were in pandemic.
Right.
There was no interest.
Yeah.
So I was just like paying it free. Like,
which they're back to again. They keep putting it in forbearance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I was able to make a really sizable dent in mine, like, and gonna keep doing that now. But it's my biggest issue is not paying back the loan. If I had to pay back the $50,000 I borrowed, I'd be fine with that. This wouldn't be a conversation. Mm-hmm. If it was just about paying back the loan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that the loan comes with some of the most predatory practices that we deal with in this system.
I think it's literally outside of like maybe like a hard money loan, right, or or like a
cash advance.
It's incredibly predatory. Well, and the fact that it's specifically targeted at people who are not equipped to evaluate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did like the loan education classes on like how loans work for you guys in advance. Well, we were fortunate enough to at least have people explain what compounding interest was.
My fucking school didn't even require us to take an economics class.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't take my first economics class till like my 5th year in college.
They didn't require us to do that. They just had Mr. Lebowski come in and be like, I think that was actually his name, to come in and be like, all right, kids, so you're getting ready for college. This is how loans work for like 15 minutes. But
God bless Mr. Lebowski.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's anti-Semitic. Putting in a Jewish last name.
No, I literally think that was his name.
It'd be good if that was actually his last name, because if we're just throwing in a last name and it happens to be Jewish, that might be a little anti-Semitic.
I didn't pick that one out of thin air.
Okay.
I'm almost certain that was his last name.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we get like a precise understanding.
It was actually very. I've heard some horror stories about the school counselors, but he, based on my experiences interacting with him, he was a very pleasant man. Fair. I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for the system itself is kind of rigged against kids.
Yeah, that's always all over the place.
But even that preparation was woefully inadequate.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like as a kid, you don't understand how long this is going to impact you, how much you're going to have to pay on it, how much money you're going to be able to, what your earning potential even is.
Right.
You don't understand what it means to go bankrupt and how to have your debt erased, to not be able to have your debt erased,
or the realization that bankruptcy will not erase your debt sometimes.
Well, yeah. Well, specifically, the only kind of loan that can't be erased in bankruptcy is student loans.
It's almost like they're pimping us.
I was educated on the evil of loans since my birth.
Well, literally, the upper class said, all right, these kids are going to have to start going to school, so we're not going to be able to control them with education anymore. We're going to saddle them with debt. It pisses me off.
It is very upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's in addition to the way that colleges function nowadays. Even state institutions primarily make their money as businesses off of real estate rather than existing as a service to educate kids.
Yeah.
It's literally, it's so insane. If you look at the recent tuition hikes in California, they're entirely in order to placate investors who have loaned money to those colleges on the basis of the real estate investments that the colleges made and the returns that they're going to get on those investments. Meanwhile, the colleges are not investing in students or faculty, right?
Not facilities or
facilities. Well, they're
technology.
Building stadiums and things pools
and yachts.
Not to devalue the contributions they can bring. But the purpose of these investments, the purpose of the schools, yachts, the dormitories, is not in order to provide better services for the kids. It's in order to make the school more appealing for more people to loan them more money.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when it looks like they can't pay back that money, they raise tuition. And this is a state school. This is a state-funded institution that does this.
Mhm.
Like, this isn't Harvard. This is... like, it's... I'm not going to do the best job of explaining it, but it's fucking insane. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's... System is whacked.
Did
in
you
a
guys
way
know
is-
that state colleges started off as a free institution?
No.
Yeah, it used to be that tuition was only charged to people out of state
Wow.
because you
I
were
can imagine
paying the state who was then funding that institution, so you
Right. Oh.
have free access to it, free access to those educational facilities. That was the arrangement.
And now you pay basically the same amount, or you pay a little bit extra if you're coming from out of state.
Yeah.
Now you just pay an extra fee for coming from out of state than anything else. I'm not shocked. I'm glad I'm done with it. It will be nice the day I can say I'm done with these loans. If that ever happens, we're working on it. We're trying to make it happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I think my cash flow isn't going to be equip me to
We'll actually pay it off in a
actually pay it
reliable
off
way.
unless I get a new job or
This shit really takes the fuck off.
Yeah, like basically.
Yep.
Mm.
And that's is what it is. There are the amount of people that have had to just accept that student loans are forever going to be on their fucking, just going to be a forever payment you have to make.
Like,
Is
obviously you can decline or whatever, but do you know what your principal is? Like,
Oh, mine. I just $20,000.
like, is that the yearly or is that how much you owe?
if you
that's
ask the
how much-
principal, that's how much you owe.
That's how much I owe.
That's how much the actual loan turn is
So it
without the
comes to
interest.
around.
I thought the principal was like what you had to pay each month. Sorry.
No. That's your premium, technically. I think that's
yeah.
the term they use in
It's around $200.
insurance. Yeah.
200. So that's like mostly interest with a little bit of.
I haven't looked at the specifics on the numbers for my stuff.
I
I know that I missed a couple months and I just had to pay $800.
Yeah.
So
Because that's
More than likely, it will still be a lot of interest because they do everything they can, especially with Nelnet, which annoyingly they don't let you reallocate where your payment goes to. With I remember with Great Lakes, you can actually allocate where your money went to. So when
I
say-
remember when I first got my job, I went on Nelnet and there was an option to pay down specific sub loans that I had taken out.
sub loans, yes, but I don't think could you break it up between principal and interest.
Oh, I haven't.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I remember with Great Lakes, I could actually split it up to go pay certain amount to the actual principal and a certain amount to the interest, and I would use that to pay the fucking principal down and then put whatever towards the interest, because you always have to have a minimum towards the interest or some shit. And with Nelnet, I don't. It might be because they might have just obfuscated it and it's just hard to find, and the stupid ass UI. But I don't remember that being an option, which is annoying as shit. But I keep using these forbearance periods to pay that down.
It's deliberately manipulative.
Oh, it's hella manipulative.
Yeah.
Right. So, which it keeps speaking to the fact of this. The argument is not that people took loans, is that loans are predatory as shit. Like that's the problem. That's the real problem.
Loans are predatory as shit, and then we shouldn't have to be paying for the education in the first place.
And then we shouldn't have to be paying for
This
education.
is a
in the first fucking
prerequisite
place.
for participating in the modern economy. It should be.
This is part of the contract of living in a society that the fucking government is not upholding. And
yeah.
like y'all are just not upholding this portion of the contract.
Mhm.
So what the fuck are we doing? But
Yeah.
well, this
if you think you're in debt, you should see what the government's doing.
fair. Let's get into some manhwa and get done with this episode. This episode has been weirdly I feel like that episode has not been as funny.
No, it's been real serious because we got out of that story that was like
that. Like
it was
really,
interesting, but it was
it was
funny.
a heartwarming. It was
heartwarming.
Well, not heartwarming. I don't know, but it was an uplifting story of some sort.
It ended off being uplifting.
Yeah, it ended with a good
speaking
ending.
of heartwarming, let's kill gods with the powers of demons in an apocalyptic society.
Fuck yeah,
I'm down with it.
So this is a manhwa called Void Man. It's a pretty new one too, with a pretty sparse synopsis. So, in a world ruled by gods after the apocalypse, I face death to avenge my family and kill the god who took them away from me. Void, grant me the strength to kill a god.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, Fluff. Give us the lowdown.
This I am highlighting very specifically for two reasons. For no reason number one is the art in this is crazy. It goes crazy. The gods in this are not your traditional conception of gods. They're closer to, they're figures of worship, but they essentially exchange human sacrifice for safety in this post-apocalyptic world, and then they feed off of the souls of the people that are sacrificed to them.
So gods.
We can't watch it. It's not we can't read it. It's not the Christian God. It's not monotheistic.
Dang it, you're right. I totally forgot.
Not in our Christian podcast.
Not in our Christian podcast.
Well, these gods are creatures that are degrading humans, turning them against each other, right? And in the midst of that, there comes this artifact that ostensibly will allow you to create. They create these figures that are so ethereal and foreign, but also recognizable. They do an excellent sense of creating a sense of mystery and grandeur in these figures.
The lighting,
right,
while also making them somehow grotesque and terrifying. Everything about the art in this is quite fun. Well, specifically when it comes to the rendering of deities, is phenomenal. You should go through, I think it's episode like 3 or 5. I want you to see how they render when he is interacting with it's after this. The figure of the void.
I didn't want to keep distracting you while you were trying to talk.
Yeah, no. And so in this post-apocalyptic world, this guy obviously has his family taken by a god when it descends. And he is living in this post-apocalyptic world, carrying this anger, and somebody arrives with an artifact. And he says, if you insert this into your heart, you will be able to create a contract that will allow you to kill gods. So he's like, fuck it. All right. He does it.
He didn't read the fine print.
Well, no. He goes into a coma.
Can't sue Disney.
For, I think it was somewhere between like 3 to 5 years.
Oh, geez.
Comes out of the coma, and he has made a contract with this entity called the Void. And within the Void has swallowed demons. Demons who have the capacity to damage and kill gods. And he has, through this process, made a pact with all of these demons. And so he comes back out and he's unleashing these powers in order to kill these gods. And it gets more complex. It gets a little convoluted, but it's really worth sticking with, if only just to see, the conceptions.
Is this what you're talking about?
No, this is a small part of it.
Is this before or after what you're referring to?
I think this is after.
So,
or this is before. Sorry.
Okay, so it's not this either.
It's not this either.
Oh boy, sexy.
You said what chapter was it?
He said 3 or 5. I was on 3.
Somewhere in, what would it be, the middle now?
Between now and.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to you.
This is where we're getting into like the specifics of the story, but that's where I'm going to end it for this synopsis.
Okay.
Because any more, and then we're going to start to get into like how the setting is working and the primary struggle is interesting because it's very ambiguous what the MC's like final role is in all of it, but it's sort of supposed to be left mysterious.
Okay.
Because the moral quandaries here aren't like pure good versus evil. Well, it's clear that like harm is being done.
Right.
Where the true source of harm is hard to say. Well, it's very easy to say where harm is coming from. It's coming from both humanity and these godlike creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But what resolution is that lies at the end of it is unclear.
Okay.
What the final solution is. But God damn, the art makes me go crazy. I have always been very inspired by
I'd probably search it.
conceptions or illustrations of various like forms of deity or deification of the different forms that they can take, especially when they don't really resemble or mimic or are foreign from like human conception, right?
Yeah.
Because like I find it very interesting that humans decide to create gods in the image of humans. When a being that transcends humanity, I find it very suspicious that that's the form that they would take.
Right.
And this show does this manga does a great job of creating creatures that are somehow both beyond, but also recognizable, that are perversions, but that are also reflections. And it is, if only for that, it's worth a read, I would say. And then the story, I think, is also interesting.
Sick. All right, Izzy. The question you were going to ask.
I was just going to say, like, out of, I guess, mostly what you read, could you have a guess at, like, how much of it is colored and how much is it just black and white?
Most of what I read, so this is more of a country of origin typically. So if it comes out of Japan, it's black and white. If it comes out of Korea, it's colored.
Oh, really?
Typically, like things like necromancers, evolution. Shit. One sec. Let me grab this name real quick. Necromancers' evolutionary traits. Is a manga, but it's produced like a manhwa. So it's colored. It comes out weekly. But most of what I read, because most of what I read falls under the camp of manhwa, stuff that comes out of Korea, and then occasionally I'll read stuff that comes out of China because they have great cultivation stuff that I like to read. Almost all of that is colored, because their production is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of work. It's
Are manhwas, Chinese manhwas, are they more full panel like mangas, or are they more strip panels like
they're
Korean?
much more strip panel.
Okay. Like the production still goes crazy when it comes to like that kind of stuff, but it's definitely a lot easier to manage with a strip panel style like this versus like the way mangas put their chapters out.
So yeah, but it's very rare that you will see a manhwa with this level of quality illustration.
Yeah, this is going nuts.
You'll only see this in like a One Punch Man or a
This is graphic novel levels of art and rendering.
And this like panel in particular looks maybe like more highly rendered than some of the other stuff, but still.
Well, yeah, they definitely waffle, right?
Yeah.
They reserve their striking visuals for. That's one of the other things I appreciate about it.
Right? In that episode, the chapter 3 that I was scrolling through at first, like the angelic stuff, like the angelic creatures and stuff, the way that stuff was rendered in the sky, the 3-headed god, very much on the same level as this. Like, of they know their set pieces and they know when to really put the work in for a set piece.
Yeah, like almost any time you're seeing a deity or a deity's direct servant, it's crazy. When I'm gonna have like a 5-second spoiler here.
Okay.
But when they start to extract the demonic power from his body so that other people have access to it, they create this like organism that can embody demons. The way they render that thing, fucking insane. Just like all of it is really cool.
We'll call that a preview, not a spoiler.
Yeah. Preview.
Only because I don't want to have to edit a timestamp.
They can skip ahead 5 to 6 seconds.
It's hardly a spoiler. I think you'd have to already know the event he's referring to really call it a spoiler.
Go back and get spoiled, bitches.
Go back. It's a preview, motherfuckers. 5-second preview.
Dumbledore kills Snape.
Fuck!
Well, one of the reasons I'm being so selective is because that happened like 2 chapters ago.
Also, yeah, it's like the beginning of.
Oh yeah,
Like
It's a 8. What is this? A 5 chapter? 8 chapter?
10 chapters are out right now. I think I just read the 10th chapter today.
Okay, 13. It says 13 available chapters, but it's probably like 10 in English.
Yeah.
Scanlated so far. I keep saying there's some of these I really want to jump on, especially when they're early. But I don't know if I'm going to have the chance to really do it. But this looks sick.
Yeah,
This looks awesome.
The art's so unique.
The addiction.
Right.
And yeah, you're right. The rendering on certain panels, like
the
first time, like you showed a couple things scrolling through, I was like, dang,
that looks
the
good.
light rendering
Right.
that they're doing, like in the little film that they're putting.
I will say they're at least for the more heavenly creatures, quote unquote, they very much remind me of Bayonetta. Some angel styles of that, like the more humanoidish of that, as well as a little bit of Asura's Wrath in there too. Like that's a very preliminary. I think if you really stack them up next to each other, the differences will probably be a lot more pronounced. But that was like my first thought of it. But it looks sick. It's such a good looking manhwa. But hell yeah, kind of excited to see where that goes. We'll see. Maybe I will get around to reading it. We'll see. I'm gonna try to. I still haven't caught up more than 7 chapters into fucking Give Me the Pacifier, so we'll see. But all right. Whew. I think this is the second week in a row we've definitely gone 3+ hours.
I think we're at 4 hours.
I don't think
3:30.
We started basically right at 7 today.
No, we came down to 7. It still took us like a good while to get set up and started. So I think we're just approaching 3.5.
Agree to piss-agree.
We're at 3:30 and 54 seconds.
Bitch. Don't tell me. I know how this shit work.
It's 3.5 hours. It's like straight down the middle of what we both
That's
said.
what I said 3.5.
Oh, you did?
I said 3+.
I said 4.
You did.
You said 3+. I said 4.
Yeah. And then I said 3.5 right
both
there.
very close.
We are both very close.
I'm good.
like, comment, and
5 stars on Spotify.
Like, comment, and provide for your family the best that you can.
Please do that. Always
Yes.
communicate with your partner and understand that life gets difficult, and the only way I can really get through stuff is to just talk. And
therapy is wonderful.
Therapy is fantastic.
Never underestimate it.
Never underestimate the power of therapy.
It takes 2 to tango. You got to go at that shit together.
Yep. Disney is the devil, and capitalism sucks.
And Void Man is cool.
That it is. Everybody have a good
Whether
night.
you call it a universal basic income
Woo-woo.
or negative income tax, we fucking need it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye.
Peace.
Bye.
No, stay gay.
Oh, God, stay gay.
Shit on my pee-pee.
PP on my shit.